Well, hey there, everybody. Hey there, hi there, ho there. How's it going? My hair is still a little bit wet from showering earlier, and it's got a lot of hair gel in it, so it's just maybe gonna look silly this whole stream, but we're gonna deal with it. We're just gonna roll with it. Here, let's put it over here for now. There you go. Ooh, okay. Okay, girl. Okay. Anyway, hi everyone. Captain Vaughn asked, "What's this music?" You asked that during a song called "Underwater Exploration," and it's in the YouTube library. So, hello. Um, that's Padfoot. There's Jackie. Hello, Viren. Self-combusted. What is up in the website chat? How's it going? Oh my god, my hair. I'm not happy with it today. I tried to put gel in it for the first time in a while. Like, okay, that's something. Cool. All right. Um, YouTube chat. There are so many of you over there. If you didn't know, there is a link in the top of the description to my website over here. This is the custom website chat. We have where am I? We have fun colors for people who've donated, and we've got custom emojis. You can see this custom emoji down here. So, hello. Transpanic defense. Yeah, we're going to be talking about it today because Minnesota just made it illegal there. But it just brings up the whole, like, why is that still a thing conversation. So that's kind of the broader conversation that we're going to have today. Philosopher's Lover. Ooh, what a good name. Speaking of that, I just was watching, I finally got around to watching the Philosophy Tube episode about Judith Butler. I kind of like I don't know. I just took a long time for me to get around to watching that video. I think it's because I knew that it was going to be something related to gender politics. And I just don't consume that content as much in my free time nowadays. It tends to be something that I just don't relax and like watch those. You know what I mean? I don't remember my Discord login. This is why it's good to have more than one thing attached to your website chat thing. So, you know, if you can figure out what your Discord is to log in, you know, I would recommend logging in with Twitch and Google at the same time, just so that you have the ability to get in. But it doesn't really matter that much. It's like, I still look at YouTube chat, just not nearly as much. I've preferential treatment for the website chat, okay? Luxander.net/live. Woo! I've been so tired this week, and consequently, I am going to bed pretty early right now. I slept through my garden meeting, was supposed to get my worm season plants. Oh, that's a bummer. Hope that you can still get some plants for your garden. I need to check on mine. It's been a couple days since I went and checked. Gorge. So how's everybody been? It's like the hump day, it's the middle of the week. Hope that everybody's feeling okay. I've been adding to this thing again. I stopped working on it for like more than a month. And now I'm finally working on it again. Look at that. Isn't it fucking huge? I did have to undo some of it last night. I had to frog it. But then I started over again, and now it's good. So this is how I've been relaxing the last couple days, keeping myself entertained. I've also gotten back into playing Hades. Oh, by the way, we're just chilling. This is the part of the show where we just kind of like talk about whatever and chill. And then we'll get into serious topics in a little bit. So yeah, this is a mandala, and I'm making it hypothetically as a form of sun worship, I guess. And yeah, every time I show you it, I'm showing you the back side. So it's like you're seeing the gnarly side basically, but like that's the pretty side, the one that I'm looking at. There's so much going on. This thing, it's crazy. Like just look at all those stitches. It's got to be like over 1,000 stitches by now. It's crazy. This is just how I entertain myself. I've been work. Ugh, I know that feel. I've actually streamlined a lot of my work so that I don't have to spend literally all day working on it. And that frees me up to do things like clean the toilet. Like I cleaned the toilet yesterday, cleaned the bathtub today. I've been embracing an ADHD style of cleaning lately, by the way. I would say, when I was younger, my mom, she would have been like, okay, today you're going to clean the bathroom. And by that, I mean, you're going to clean the bathroom mirror and you're going to clean the sink and the faucet and you're going to clean off the countertops and you might wipe down the cabinets and you're going to make sure all the towels are in the laundry and you're going to clean the entire tub and you're going to do the toilet. And like, I can see the value in that to an extent, but as a person with ADHD, I think that it's probably better to embrace the fact that you can't necessarily just sit down and do something for like 5 hours. You might just be like, hey, I'm gonna clean the fucking toilet right now. And maybe I'm just gonna clean the surfaces of the toilet and then tomorrow I'll get in with the brush and actually clean the bowl on the inside. I just think that that's good. Thank you so much, Kitty Tick, starting us off with 2 gifted tier 1 subs. Enjoy, Philosopher's Lover and Padfoot Sam, your dicks. That's an emoji. Kitty Tick says, here's a bit to get the money rolling. Hope today goes wonderfully. More treasure for the Dragon Lord's Horde. More. True. Yes. So thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Zypatian says, YouTube chat is interesting, though, because the algorithm may have brought them there and there might be dissent. That's true. YouTube chat, at the very minimum, I do have it limited so that you have to have been a subscriber for 1 minute. It's a really low bar, but it forces people, if they're coming in because they want to harass me or whatever, there's at least a bit of a, like a bit of a barrier, a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of a barrier. Janae, welcome to the website chat. Says, what's good? Hope you're doing well. I don't think I've ever caught one of your streams. Hell yeah. We stream on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Central Time. And then we stream again on Sundays at 12 p.m. Central Time. And we go for about an hour. We go for about 4 hours every time. And yeah, having that bare minimum, like you have to be subscribed for 1 minute. So, that gives you 1 minute to mull over your choices with regards to what comments you're going to make. And it forces you to benefit my channel in a way by making the numbers go up. Hey, numbers go up, burr. I honestly sometimes think that when I do my curls, my hair looks better when it's parted this way because my natural part is like right here. So like, I kind of think that that might be why my curls look so much better on this side. But I don't like parting my hair that way. Look at my face. Okay, you see this face? You see how my nose curves? Or it's like, just goes really hardcore to that angle, right? So there's way more face on this side. So I part my hair the way that I do to even out my face. Like, even out the appearance of my face. Oh my god, hair in my eyeball. Stop it. Okay. There we go. I guess that's better. Whatever. Yeah, exactly. They have to think. They have to think. Before they make their decisions. Light Woof, hello, says, I don't even remember how I found the channel. I just like hanging out and listening. Good call. Sky says, Mrp. If this goes 4 hours, I will be released from Facebook jail at the same time. Nice. My nose has been broken a few times, but luckily it's straight now. I just need a right-handed person, like somebody who's right-handed, to punch me. And then that'll straighten my nose out. Yeah, because they'll be hitting me. Wait, is that right? Yeah. A right-handed person is going to punch me from this side, and it's going to straighten my nose out. But the thing is, I have thought about, would I hypothetically get a nose job in the future? Not change the shape of my nose or anything, but just see if they can, like, straighten it. Because, like, I can't remember what this is called. The little, like, this thing right here underneath your nose where your lip kind of meets. Like, that's, like, also, kind kind of crooked on my face. Like my nose is pulling that skin to the side. And so it's like, yeah, I've thought about it, but like this side of my face is cute. I like this side of my face. So while I don't like this side of my face, if I got my nose straightened, okay, maybe this side of my face would be less of what I don't like, but this side of my face would be less of what I do like. And, you know, if we're going to be making decisions based on regret, which, hi, as a trans person, frenulum, thank you. As a trans person, you know, there's all this like constant pressure to be like, oh, well, what if you regret it? And like nose jobs have a crazy high degree of regret, like very, very, very high degree of regret. So if I know that, why would I do it on purpose? You know, like if I ever have the opportunity, if I ever mess up my knee, I know that for a lot of people getting knee surgery, they regret like how their life is after knee surgery more than they regret having to deal with their injury in the first place. So, you know, the underside divot of the penis is also called frenulum. It's like there's like a piece of skin that connects right to the underside, right? And it's kind of like, so there's like a little skin flap. Isn't this also the frenulum? Like, I thought that the part under the tongue was also called that. I regret waiting till my 30s to come out and start HRT. True. Queer nose theory. Absolutely. A guy elbowed me when I was 17 and playing basketball, and one of the old guys playing was a sports doctor who fixed me up. I blacked out when he crunched my nose around. Oh my God. Yeah, I would throw up. No. NBJ, welcome in. Hopefully the website and everything loads for you. Good to see you. I tore 3 regimens in my ankle and I was depressed, so I didn't rehab it. I regret that. Yeah, I had a lower back injury from doing a deadlift a long time ago, and I'm just now finally basically doing physical therapy rehabilitation for it. Like, it started to hurt in other ways because I just refused to use those muscles for such a long time. So, yeah. Turns out when you injure yourself, you have to work the area gently, but you do need to work the area or things will not get better. Damn, what a bummer, right? Oh my God, I'm like trying to put in a couple more stitches on this, and it's hard to do that when your yarn is trapped underneath the piece that you're working on. Oh, ligaments. Tore some ligaments in your ankle. Okay. Philtrum? Philtrum. My dad set my nose. Ugh. A nose job also has a 30 to 50% chance of affecting a singing voice. Oh no. Yeah, okay. So I hadn't even considered that. Had not even thought of that. The genitals have so many face illusions, frenulum and labia, and ooh, yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't really considered that before. Like, I know labia means lip. And like, okay, so frenulum has to do with this. And then also, oh, that's interesting. Is that why we enjoy putting our faces on genitals so much? We're getting into Smuggy Chat. We've only just started and we're already in Smuggy Chat. Hit the like button, by the way. I love it when we just kind of dick around and like there's people in here who are just hanging out and enjoying the dicking around part of it. Like, that's the part of the show that I enjoy the most. And it's gotten longer. I don't know if you've noticed that. I used to be like, oh yeah, well the first hour or so of the show, 45 minutes to an hour, is we are just chilling and hanging out. And then now it's like 2 hours. I'm like, we're just gonna chat for like 2 hours, and then I'll go, you know, take my bathroom break, which I usually do about halfway through the show, and I rest my voice for a few minutes because it's important to do that. And then we just get back into it and start the news. So yeah, the chill segment of the stream just keeps getting longer and longer. It's fun. It's a good show. Just listening to someone talk about bullshit that doesn't matter. Isn't that great? Okay. Burp was coming in. I guess that's why bigger lips are seen as attractive, because it reminds you of the labia majora. Extremely interested to hear how you cover Minnesota. I'm a trans woman who knew Savannah, sat in the different committee hearings and writing to representatives. It's been a long, traumatic 6 months getting through all this. I haven't actually read the article. So what I have up is an article from Erin in the Morning, because I was like, oh, you know what? I haven't checked on her in a while. I wonder what's going on with her. And so I have this article pulled up. Regarding, Tim Walz signing into law a bill which is a Judiciary, Public Safety, and Corrections Supplemental Budget Bill, which includes a ban on the gay and trans panic defense. Does this... I don't even know if this article mentions... The defense has been implicated in high-profile cases. In 2013, for example, a black trans woman was killed. So, was this Shakespeare? Thank you for joining us. I wanted to ask you, was this bill passed in response to the death of a transgender woman? Gonna have to listen passively for an hour or so while I install a new kitchen sink. Got the old one ripped out this morning. Excited to have my sink back and also nicer. Yeah, hell yeah. I love the whole thing about like owning a house where you can actually do stuff to it. It sucks. I have rented my entire life, and I'm probably still gonna rent for at least an extra year or more after we move to the Pacific Northwest. But yeah, it's gonna be so great to just be like, you know, I don't like this light fixture. I am going to put in a new one. Okay, so this... Okay, Erin did not include this, so let me correctly honor this by talking about her. Okay, she died in November. She was killed in November of last year. Actually, there is such a thing as gay panic defense, Janae. And that's kind of like the story that we're going to be talking about in Minnesota, is that they have removed both of those as an option. But yes, so there are places where gay panic defense is also a thing. I just got a house. I look forward to lighting candles. Could you not light candles before? I released some aggression, ripping the counter off the wall. Gotta release some stress from baby not sleeping well. Yeah, goddamn baby. Goddamn baby not sleeping. What is wrong with those babies? Just got an ad for Pella windows since you were mentioning renovations. That's pretty funny. It just takes the loosest associations. Man, maybe I just don't read my leases closely enough, because I don't think I've ever noticed a lease telling me that I can't light candles. Would I listen to that anyway? Probably not. They say, okay, they want to say like no candles. Do they also have rules against flipping extension cords? Do they have rules against space heaters? Because both of those things are far more dangerous, like represent a far greater fire risk. Here comes the electrician in me. What's up, fellow slurs? What's up, Corpse Candy? Also, if you're not a wealthy homeowner, you could get help from places like Habitat for Humanity stores, which have great home improvement items on the cheap. I have heard that. Do they allow hot plates? Right. That's what I'm saying. And like, what the heck are they called? Power strips? Power strips also represent a fire risk. I had one place that said no nails in the walls. If you hang anything on the walls, it must be that double stick tape stuff. You mean that stuff that doesn't actually work at all? I've had places that are like, you can't screw anything into the walls. And I'm like, okay, whatever. They're like, you can only use finishing nails. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Fine. I'm not saying that I actually, like, obey those rules per se. Because it might be the case that I'm just like, I know how to use the putty stuff. I can just plug the holes when I move out. I don't care. Like, it's like you're pocketing hundreds and hundreds of dollars of my money to do fucking nothing all month anyway. So like, whatever. I had a power strip overload and arc out of the back a month back. Woke up smelling burning plastic and managed to catch it in time. Yeah, like, why? Those hooks can hold up. It sort of depends on... I mean, okay, you said after 14 years it finally gave Padfoot Sam. Maybe that's because manufacturing of these things used to actually be good. And now they're bad. Yeah, also painting the wall to cover up stuff. Yeah, I always feel like places aren't going to give me my deposit back anyway, so like why would I bother? Like just keep the fucking deposit and shut up and leave me alone. I hate that most power strips aren't surge protectors anymore. Yeah, it seems like that should be the default, especially because so many people have you know, delicate electronics plugged in all the time. And like, yeah, it's a fire prevention thing. It's not like it's a surge protector just to protect your many hundreds of dollars of electronics. It is a safety thing. Like, oh, you want to talk about fire safety? You're going to make me stop burning candles, but you're not going to provide, like, surge protection? You're not going to keep the outlets updated to AFCI? I used to live on a church ranch that made you show up to every service, and they had rules against having the opposite sex in your place after dark. Yeah, you can't have any friends hanging out in your apartment at 5 p.m. in the winter. You can't. If you're a woman, you better have any male friends you have out of your house by 5 p.m. in the winter. You're not supposed to smoke in my building, but everyone does. I've had situations in the past where I was like, I'm pretty goddamn sure that it was in my lease that I'm not supposed to smoke in the unit, and then I've had someone move in to the like one of the nearby units and they're smoking, and like I can smell it and stuff even in my own unit, and I'm like, so because they moved in more recently, I guess their lease doesn't have that on it or something. Like, so stupid. Like worsening the air quality for the whole building. What's up, Noah? But yeah, we'll get into the whole transpanic defense stuff in a little bit. See, I don't know what a good article is for discussing Savannah's murder. Because I do want that to be part of it. If this is indeed what spurred the law to change in Minnesota, which thank fucking God. It sucks that it has to be like someone's death spurs it on, but it's like, thank goodness that they've changed the rules to not allow that anymore. Like, did her killer try to use the trans panic defense? Is that part of it? Yeah, I think that that is really unfortunate, Janae, and it's so true that lawmaking is always reactionary. It always has to be like someone gets hurt and then there was a response. Like, you know, we can know that forever chemicals are probably not good for people, right? I read this entire giant long article about the company 3M. That's the company that I trust for my respirators. Like, I wear a 3M brand respirator anytime I'm in public. And they were like knowingly putting PFAS forever chemicals into their adhesives, into stuff that was being used for food packaging and stuff. And they knew that it was harmful since the 70s. And then again in the 90s, there were a bunch of people who worked for them who were like, hey, this is not cool. And yeah, like, you can like know that you're doing something potentially toxic and harmful, but it's not until we can establish a direct causal link between these chemicals. And yeah, they make a lot of tape and wall hooks. Yeah, it's a bunch of like adhesives that you would use in the home. I don't know if those are the ones that are going to cause exposure of normal people to those chemicals, but it's basically impossible to study like which populations of people have these forever chemicals in them, specifically the ones that 3M was using in manufacturing, because everybody has those chemicals in them. Literally everybody. The workers in the factories might have had a like larger amount of it in their bodies, but everyone in every population, everywhere, except for like there are some remote areas of the world where people just aren't exposed to like, modern, just like modern stuff. If you were to study people who are living on remote islands or whatever, they probably wouldn't have PFAS in their system, but literally everybody else does. Literally everybody else. But yeah, like, unless we establish a causal link between this chemical that never breaks down in your body, basically, to something like cancer or reduced fertility rates. And even then, we don't do a good job of regulating this. There is this one county in the United States, and I can't remember where it is. Maybe I can try to find it really quick. Most cancer county, USA. Counties with the highest cancer rates in the US. Oh my god. Man, I'm not gonna click through 30 pages of stupid nonsense. 3 southern states lead with the highest cancer rates. Kentucky, very high up there. But there's like, it's like known if you're born in certain counties where certain businesses are like leaching carcinogens into the environment, it's like almost a guarantee if you're born in one of these counties that you will have cancer. I thought it was in Mississippi too, right? And they just can keep doing it. They can just keep doing it. Like, this is why I'm an anarchist. I fucking hate the government. Like, you're just gonna let people like get cancer, get sick, and die because you don't feel like regulating companies because the companies are like friends with the people who write the laws. Like, God, bureaucracy is such a fucking failure of human innovation. Could be Florida as well. Yeah, Florida is terrible about regulation. I saw that, Noah Darkly. There was recently a kind of like basically a study, I guess. Like they had removed testicles, human testicles from corpses and tested all of these testicles to see if they had microplastics in them, and every single one had microplastics in them. Every single one. I work for a private contractor company as a cleaner janitor at a 3M facility, which is now becoming Solventum. I feel like Solventum is even more of a creepy name. Like, I know 3M and I trust them with certain things, but yeah, I guess after all that Forever Chemicals shit came to light, they're like, ooh, we gotta rebrand. Microplastics are stored in the balls. That's true. That study only had a sample size of 24. I mean, sure. The one with the balls, it's not enough to determine 100%, but it is a scary amount of testicles. Sure, yeah. And I mean, like, it's been noted that microplastics probably, like, the most impactful thing on our health is going to be fertility. Because, you know, our bodies don't seem to be the microplastics don't seem to interact with our bodies exactly in the way that a lot of other things can be carcinogenic and like cause your body to do cancer. It seems to me like microplastics just exist in your body, and if they were going to be a problem, like, we would probably have been able to tell that it was going to be carcinogenic by now, right? But yeah, like, it has that potential to impact your fertility, in that, like, if there's enough plastic in your gonads, then you might not be able to easily produce whatever anymore, whatever the gametes. Yeah, they don't react directly in the body for the same reasons. They don't biodegrade. Fucking true. Larger studies have shown that we have at least a credit card's worth of plastic inside us at any given time. Getting bottom surgery to remove the microplastics. I ate a biscuit with tiny shreds of plastic in it the other day. Didn't notice until I ate like 2. That's fucked. But also, if you could see the plastic, then at least it's macroplastics. It's not like small enough to inhabit your cells and organs. New York in Love Canal was the first reported poisoned town. Not microplastics, but dioxin and more. Yeah. And the crazy thing to me, too, is if you are the leader of a company, or if you're a worker at a company who is deliberately doing all this stuff to, like, prevent the information from coming to light, regarding Forever Chemicals, regarding microplastics, whatever it is, those people in charge of those companies, they get, like, a fine, right? Like, I don't know that there has ever been a criminal trial related to a company owner, like, dumping, like, maybe, like, there's sometimes, like, an environmental thing where it's like, if you're literally dumping radioactive chemicals into water, like, that, I think that still typically is just a fine, right? How about the death penalty? Like, if you do something that causes, like, hundreds of thousands of people to develop cancer and have fertility issues, and also their children, and sometimes even their children also have cancer, like, this is one of the rare times where I like kind of believe in the death penalty. Like, maybe if there's a real consequence for fucking up the lives of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, maybe people would stop doing it. But there's no real consequences. You can just do whatever you want. We all have Teflon in us as well. Yeah. I really hate using nonstick anything because of that reason. If it's like ceramic nonstick, that's a little bit better. But lethal injection of microplastics. Look, if corporations can be people, they can also be small beans, okay? They're just doing the birthday boy thing. They're like, oh, I'm just a little birthday boy. It's my birthday. Don't punch me back. Cast iron is, oh man, cast iron and stainless steel. Those are like my yeah, I use either stainless steel or cast iron most of the time. And then my partner got specifically one pan for eggs that's nonstick, but it's ceramic nonstick. So there's no like Teflon in it or whatever. And people will say, "Oh, you know, they stopped putting bad chemicals in nonstick cooking bakeware." And I'm like, "I don't trust that shit. Like, why would I trust you? You say that you fixed it. Why would I trust you?" Cast iron is is fantastic. It's so easy to clean. It's pretty easy to clean. I have like a scrubber that I scrub, and like it's kind of nice that you don't have to worry about damaging the pan. It's not a transmasc insult, actually, Janae. The birthday boy thing it's a story that someone told, and I don't know how true the story is, because, you know, the internet, people can make shit up all the time. But the whole birthday boy thing is, like, this woman was saying, I used to date a short guy who would start shit with other guys in the club or at the bar. And then when the other guy got ready to hit this ex-boyfriend, he would go, "Hey, it's my birthday. I'm just a little guy. You wouldn't hit a guy on his birthday, would you?" And then it always worked. Like, he never got punched, even though he was starting shit with someone on purpose. So the birthday boy thing is like, it's someone who starts some shit and then tries to be like, "Oh, I'm just a little guy. Like, ooh, you can't, oh, I'm so small and sensitive. It's my birthday, and like, yeah, that's what a birthday boy is. It's possible that people use it referring to trans guys, but it is not supposed to be an insult against trans guys. It's just like, yeah, a person. It's almost like a crybaby, kind of. It's kind of similar to a crybaby, like someone who starts shit on purpose and then tries to be like, "Oh, but don't retaliate against me. Oh no." True, Jenny. That works until you try it with the wrong person. Exactly. It's just silly. Wait, so why trans men always say it? I don't know. I hope that they're not invoking it unironically. Because if you're genuinely going, "Oh, I'm a birthday boy," then what that means is you're an aggressor and you're just trying to make yourself seem like you're not an aggressor. And to be honest, I do think that trans men do that sometimes. Sometimes. I think that trans men have a tendency to say, fairly trans misogynistic shit. And then, when they get called out as like, "Ugh, men," then sometimes trans men are like, "But I'm not like a cis man. You can't lump me in with them. Do you know how bad it feels to be someone who chose manhood and transitioned into manhood and then have people like talk bad about you just because you transitioned to male?" Like, I don't know. Like, it can go both ways, where like, I think when people make criticisms of men, they often don't think about trans men, and that is in and of itself a problem. Like the whole man versus bear thing, nobody was thinking about trans men when we were having the "would you rather run into a man or a bear in the woods" thing. I think it was kind of implied that people were talking about cis men, but I still think, there's an argument to be made that you should have specified, because yeah, sometimes trans men do feel bad about like being lumped in this way. But it's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, You can't be misogynistic as a way of affirming your gender, because some trans men do that. Some trans men become so toxically trans misogynistic. And then also they go like, "Oh, well, I know what it's like. I'm more sensitive than a cis man." And I'm sure it's probably not the same people doing both of these arguments, but it's like the same group of people, like it starts to look kind of hypocritical at a certain point. But you know, everybody has different stuff going on. I don't think that, it's like I don't think that someone else's behavior who is also non-binary should reflect on me. Being lumped in is part of the deal, isn't it? Right, yeah. Yeah, literally, yeah. It's like the two different ways of viewing this, where people are like, oh, you know, it's harmful to me that you're lumping cis men and trans men in together because trans men wouldn't attack a woman in the woods. But then if you yeah, I don't know. It's so fucking stupid. Part of the problem for cis men is that they did not ask, why are we even asking this question, before just loudly sharing bad opinions about the bear. Like about the whole bear thing, right? Someone in YouTube chat says you should also watch out for PFAS in clothing, like raincoats. I feel like because the fabric is flexible, it flakes off easier. Yeah, that's a possibility. I'm not sure. I try not to speak broadly about narcissism or NPD on this channel because, frankly, that is a diagnosis and it's a very highly stigmatized diagnosis. And I think it makes more sense to like criticize people's behavior rather than labeling them narcissists. That's just me, though. I pick bear, right? Yes, exactly, Byron. They totally removed the harmful chemicals. Wink. Men have been retaliating by saying they would also rather tell their feelings to a tree. I'm like, geez, me too, leave me alone. I've seen so many men respond so violently to the whole man versus bear thing. Like, it seems like their response to the idea that some women would rather run into a random bear is like, well, I hope something horrible happens to you then. I hope you do run into a bear and that it's an angry bear and horrible things happen to you. Like, you're kind of proving the point of why I chose the bear in the first place. Why am I perfect? I can't help it. I'm so sorry. I'm perfect and I'm the best. But thank you. Thank you for the compliment. I'm not really that high on myself. Agree, Janae. Most of the time when people label someone a narcissist, they are in fact wrong. People are like, oh, but the term narcissism, it has to do with narcissus and it predates the diagnosis. Like, okay. But even that is like, it's just a way of you labeling someone toxic. You could just say toxic and not contribute to like a disorder that people have a really hard time treating. It's not your fault being perfect. Don't feel bad. Listen, I don't feel bad. Narcissist is such a Reddit insult. It is like it's gotten like a bunch of new air in it, right? It seems to me like we didn't used to say this as often. Have you seen Elliot Sang's video, Narcissists Are People Too? No, I have not. I'm wondering if you would consider doing another non-binary video like you did in the past, because the previous non-binary video is what I used to send to people to explain what I am. Well, I mean, if the old video is still useful, I'm curious if there's anything specific that you feel that I could add to the conversation, or if it's mostly just the fact that it's an old video. Like, is there anything that I didn't touch on back then that I should have touched on, or anything I went into too much detail on that I shouldn't have, or something? Yes, exactly. I'm sure they're referring to the Greek myth and not like a generalized idea about people with narcissistic personality disorder. Again, wink. I honestly didn't get the man versus bear thing until I dated one. Oh, do you mean the narcissism thing or not the man versus bear thing? It's less about being cocky and more about a lack of empathy, honestly. Yeah. But you don't have to be a narcissist to have a lack of empathy for people. And I personally just think it's more useful to describe the behavior. Like, yeah, my ex did not empathize with me on my problems, instead of being like, well, he was a narcissist, because there's just so many other things implied in that that aren't necessarily true. Ooh, yes, agree, Dally. Calling people narcissist all the time, it gives, like, the way that people used to call people bipolar or schizo, you know? I've been seriously abused by an actual narcissist. Some people earn the label. Well, okay, yeah, like, if you have one person who has narcissistic personality disorder and is diagnosed with it, and they abused you, like, okay, you had one bad experience with one person who had NPD. That doesn't mean that we should go around, like, talking about narcissistic abuse as though that's, like, a unique phenomenon, because the idealization, devaluation, discard cycle also happens with borderline. You know, like, it's not just narcissism. If anything, I think the disorder should be renamed because it's nothing like the story of Narcissus. Fair. Narcissus was a Greek god, so I can imagine an ancient insult sounding something like, he would worship Narcissus if he wasn't so busy worshiping himself. So it probably has been used, quote, wrong or overused since time immemorial. Okay, fair. Fair. Okay, I acknowledge that you were with this person for several years. I mean, that was one experience with one person, like one relationship experience with one person. It is not indicative of, like, what everyone with NPD is like, and it also doesn't mean that if you see those same features in other people, it does not necessarily mean that that person also is diagnosed narcissistic, and that, like, you know, like this, okay, like, I'm coming at this as a person with borderline, right? I have borderline personality disorder. Our behaviors are frequently labeled abusive, even when we're doing it in reaction to someone else's abuse. Like, and it can be hard to learn about your own disorder if everything out there is telling you that you are an abuser, that you're a monster. Like, the articles that I used to find about borderline personality disorder were like, is it even possible to have a relationship with someone with BPD? And boy, howdy, does that make you want to kill yourself as someone who has the diagnosis. So I just think, you know, if someone suspects they have NPD, or if their family members are telling them they might have NPD, if they go trying to learn about it and they run into all this super fatalistic, like, these people are toxic and you need to get away from them, you know, it's like, that's a good way to make someone not try to improve at all. Like, what is the point of trying to improve if everything you're seeing about it is, like, talking about how abusive you are and saying that, like, it's not possible to be in a relationship with these people, and they refuse to acknowledge their behavior and get better. You know, a lot of those things also get said about borderline. So I just feel like we should be more cautious and aware. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be more accurate to just say, like, this person was apathetic, self-centered, and hateful than, and, like, and I'm not, you know, you can, if you know that your person has NPD and you want to talk about, like, the ways in which their NPD expressed in your relationship, that's, like, you know, an actual narcissist wouldn't want to improve because they genuinely think they are perfect. See, you fundamentally don't understand the disorder, and I think that that's what's leading to the irresponsible discussion, because narcissists don't actually think they are perfect. Narcissists fucking hate themselves. Narcissists are so ashamed of their behavior that they cannot face it. And all of the, like, I'm so perfect, I'm so amazing, everybody needs to look at me and tell me how great I am, that is them overcompensating for a deep, deep, deep sense of self-hatred. So like, yeah, the whole like the common idea of what narcissism is also just fucking wrong. Like, um, yeah, Corpse Candy says, I have been told that I'm unlovable and dangerous to date or even be close friends with because of my BPD. I think people also confuse traits of narcissism with sociopathy often. IMO true. Like, a narcissist is capable of empathy. A sociopath is not capable of empathy. Like, medically speaking. Hold on, I need to drink water. It's like Ethics 101 for professionals who do diagnostics to not diagnose from a distance. So, like, anything short of a professional just makes it worse. Yeah. Keeping in mind that, like, as, you know, we can learn as much as we want to about the disorders and everything, but we still are lacking that professional background. Excuse me. Oh my god. Citation points out autistic and cluster B disorders get called narcissists incorrectly a lot. Sorry, anyone with who's not has NPD, obviously, in the cluster B. Even looking at the word autism, auto meaning the self. Ooh, so selfish. So noticing someone acting unsociable doesn't make you a diagnostician, right? And like anti-personal, like anti-social personality disorder and histrionics, like, you can say, hey, I think that your behavior fits into a pattern that is indicative that you probably need like a psychiatrist. You know, but that's the loving, compassionate response. And it's hard to do that when the person is treating you in a way that you don't like, or that maybe is even considered objectively wrong. I have a BPD friend and everyone loves her. She can be a little bit much sometimes, but whatever. Hey! Excuse you. Cat was screaming. He just got out of the... Do you ever have a cat who gets out of the cat box and then they go, meow, meow, meow? And it's like, everybody knows that you just took a shit, all right? Chill out. I've seen a lot of his posts, Zypation. There is an out narcissist who is in therapy and shares what he knows, and his channel is called Mental Hellness. Like healness, I guess is how you would spell that. You can tell he's trying to get better and is a little bit better, and he did save his marriage, but I still catch him saying hella judgmental stuff about others. Yeah, you know, he acknowledges, like, that the narcissist, like, from his perspective as someone who's diagnosed and is treating it, like, does have a very difficult time seeing things from your perspective. But I do think that he also does flatten it down to, like, being simpler than it actually is. So I think it's a worthy discussion to have. And I think that, we can talk about abusive behaviors and stuff without, needlessly labeling people. And even without invoking their diagnosis if they are properly diagnosed. Like, when we were talking about Sophie from Mars, hit like if you remember the Sophie from Mars stuff. Hit like if you don't remember the Sophie from Mars stuff. We don't need to say, like, oh, of course she's like this, she has BPD, or whatever. Like, we don't need to invoke that, per se. You can just say, like, these were the behaviors, these are the cycles that the relationship are in. Like, to what extent is it even useful to discuss someone's diagnostic status? And yeah, sure, yeah, some of the most dysfunctional people are not diagnosed. And it's like, maybe some of their behavior fits into whatever, but a lot of these things are, behavioral, but some of them are internal. Like if you're looking at someone and you want to describe their behavior as fitting into borderline personality disorder, right? Well, you can look at some external behaviors, like do they have inappropriate expressions of anger and are they engaging in impulsivity? But you can't look at like an unstable sense of self necessarily. Like you could maybe there's some indicators behaviorally of that, but like chronic feelings of emptiness, you probably are not going to be able to see from the outside. That's why like a professional talks to them about their situation and like gathers information about how they're feeling, because you can't know. And for NPD, a lot of it is that internal stuff. The crazy thing is you can see he gets supply from his channel. Yeah, I mean, maybe for somebody who's actually diagnosed with narcissism, maybe something like a YouTube channel is exactly perfect, because you can get supply from that and then you're not like fucking with the person that you're married to as much. Like, I don't know. But I just think it's a conversation that we should treat more carefully than we do a lot of the time on the internet. You know? YouTube captions thought I had a pet cow. What did I say? That it thought I had a pet cow. Deferring to someone's diagnosis not only starts to essentialize, but in a way it also starts to inadvertently remove responsibility over their bad behaviors. Yeah, I would say that there are some people who do that, who they're like, well, I'm BPD, so this is how I am. That's like the problem with the whole Poppy and Xena situation. Both of them do this, actually, because Poppy is diagnosed with borderline, and she's constantly like, well, my partners need to read about my disorder and then start accommodating me, and like, you can't expect me to get better and do the actually fucking evidence-based treatment because that's ableism. And then Xena, which we didn't talk about Xena as much during my big stream about that, like my big episode about Poppy and Xena, but Xena will yell and scream at people, and then they're like, oh, well, I have PMDD. Like, I have premenstrual dysphoria disorder, and that's why I'm crazy, and I can't anticipate when it is. And, like, it's like, you don't get to just treat people however you want just because you have PMDD. That's not an excuse. You can say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had a PMDD episode and I didn't mean to speak to you that way, and I'm so sorry. But what Xena was doing was actually being like, well, I have PMDD, and if you don't like it, then you need to stop talking to us. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, I do think sometimes when people get a diagnosis, they're like, therefore, all my behavior is justified, instead of being like, oh, this is like the formal description of dysfunctional behavior, and I need to do something differently, or I'm participating in, first of all, harming people, but also like I'm participating in contributing to this idea that people with this disorder are never going to try to get better. Oh, pet cat. Okay, my bad. Yeah, Bug says, if I'm trying to figure out whether I want to date someone and whether that feels safe for me, specifics about their behavior feels much more useful than their diagnosis, right? Janae, what do you mean, Poppy and Xena? You're asking about the abuse allegations with Poppy and Xena? Zypation can confirm I have some issues. I've been seeking help for a while now, and I won't accept that I can't be a better person. I have mostly undiagnosed stuff going on beyond knowing that I'm autistic, ADHD, and have CPTSD. I don't know what else might be lurking around because I've never been with a therapist long enough. Yeah, that's really difficult. And like CPTSD in and of itself can cause a lot of other issues. And like, I personally believe that borderline personality disorder is just how autistic people express their PTSD symptoms. You know, which is why like therapy helps BPD, but medication doesn't. Yeah, Poppy and Xena. Yeah, so I mean, Janae, I recommend, if you haven't already watched it, I made like literally a 2.5 hour long video talking about a bunch of different stuff that Poppy and Xena were doing, but like too long, didn't read. Here's the highlights. Poppy's kid, like the kid that she raised from a baby, has the same disorder I do, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which means that like they need to eat frequent small meals and they need to be able to control their body temperature by like taking a cold shower because their body doesn't regulate temperature very well. It means they get hit with fatigue. And like, this is just like the thing that I'm saying now, I did not go into as much detail in the long video. We talked about a lot of other stuff in the long video, but like this is just one example of how Poppy and Xena are fucked up, and it's child abuse. Because I mean, I guess the kid was like an adult by the time they moved out, but like Xena and Poppy had been dating for a long time, and Poppy even says that she was an abusive parent when the kid was younger. So, but they would like Xena has migraines, and they would like freak out on the kid when she's like, Xena was like, I need alone time. I have a migraine. I can't have you in here. And like would dominate the living room and the kitchen so that the kid couldn't go get food for themselves when they have POTS. And then like accuse the kid of doing stuff they weren't doing all the time, and refusing to let the kid use the bathroom when they needed to, including during times when like the air conditioner wasn't working and they needed to take a cold shower to regulate their body temperature because they were overheating. The kid ended up sneaking out the window to leave because like there was so much control and abuse going on. Like if your kid sneaks out the window, then the kid is not the problem. Like, you know, and then also the kind of big thing that Poppy has been doing this whole time is she's been going on a harassment campaign against her ex. Like her ex is asexual and they had been planning to see each other. And before the plans to see each other went down, Poppy was being super fucking controlling and abusive toward the girlfriend. And the girlfriend was like, don't come see me. Don't come down here. I don't want to see you anymore. I'm breaking up with you. And then Poppy was like, I'm begging you, please give us another chance. And then Xena was like, well, we already spent money on the hotel, so you really should let us come down. Like, we can't cancel it at this point. It's too late. So, like, using financial leverage to coerce the now ex-girlfriend into still meeting up with them at this hotel. And, like, the ex-girlfriend knew that Poppy was looking forward to having sex, so she agreed to have sex. And then, like, she ended up leaving because the situation was like Xena and Poppy got into a fight during this hotel stay. And No was like, the ex-girlfriend was like, look, whatever I need to tell you to get you to fucking let go of my suitcase and let me leave. And then since then, Poppy has been going on a harassment campaign calling the ex-girlfriend a rapist for fucking months now. Milena is a different person. That's a different situation. Milena was dating Poppy, and then Xena was like screaming at her during voice chats and telling her that she had to just figure out how to deal with it, and like, oh, I just have PMDD, this is how it is. And then Xena also like forces Poppy to break up with people by like terrorizing her. So honestly, Xena is a lot of the problem in that dynamic, but yeah, Milena has been compiling a lot of information about all this. And Milena, you know, I've been having private conversations with Milena for like months now. I can see why people would take issue with some of her behavior. But like, to me, most of her behavior is understandable, at least in the context of Poppy makes people worse. Like, Poppy makes the people around her do things that they would not normally want to do because she's possessive and because she mistreats people. And she's like, oh, you need to be careful of my BPD, but I don't need to be careful around your BPD. I can just abandon you and not talk to you for weeks, and that's fine. But if you so much as mention a past girlfriend, I'm gonna like threaten to commit suicide. That's the person that Poppy is. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately the documents right now that have been detailing a lot of this information are private right now because Milena is engaged in some kind of legal action. I'm not really sure of the details. So the documents are not available right now that have all the chat logs. But, yeah. They told me all the documents fake. Yeah, of course. See, the difference is that I will tell you, go listen to what they've said about it. I encourage you to check out both sides and see who you believe. And when you're looking at all this behavior, ask yourself, like with Poppy and Xena, everyone else is the problem from their perspective. And they dig at people for the shittiest things. Like they were trying to attack me for drinking alcohol on the couple of occasions that I went and hung out in their server, basically trying to say that I'm a bad person because I'm an alcoholic or something. Like, they'll take whatever they can and attack you over whatever and discredit you and try to say, oh, none of the things that these people say are valid. Like, oh, Melena's just a stalker. You don't need to listen to her. Oh, Snowflake is a rapist. So of course you can't trust anything she says. Whereas I am like, why don't you go check out what Xena and Poppy have said? Why don't you listen to both sides? Here's the information that I have. Here's the situation as I understand it. I've heard No's side all the way through, and I've heard Poppy's side all the way through. One of these people is wildly inconsistent, changes their story frequently. Oh, and by the way, Poppy has still been in No's, the ex-girlfriend, she's still been in her DMs being like, I love you, please take me back. Like, after months of calling her a rapist publicly and, like, harassing her using her much larger platform. Although it is hilarious to me that Poppy and Xena are still, like, hemorrhaging subscribers on YouTube. And frankly, they only had, like, 10,000 subscribers when this whole thing started in the first place. The problem is that they lure in vulnerable people. They say, oh, we're a safe space. You can come be here. You know, if you have a mental disorder, we're going to be safe for you. If you're trans, we're going to be safe for you. And then Poppy has said that she tries to use her platform to become friends with people, which, as someone with a platform 3 times bigger than hers, let me tell you that even if I only still had 10,000 subscribers, you don't use this platform to make friends. Like, I'm not friends with any of you. Like, there are some of you that I might be like, okay, I'm going to move up to the Pacific Northwest and Kitty Tick and Zypation live there. I could see establishing a mutually supportive relationship, right? But, like, you have to be careful with how you do this shit. And, like, y'all are older than me, which is part of what makes the difference, too. Like, you have to be careful of the parasocial relationship. And if you're a 42-year-old therapist who's presenting yourself as, like, a safe space, but you're also hypersexual and you hit on people who are barely legal, and you also hit on minors, and when they express that they're uncomfortable, you call them woke scolds, and, like, you expose your breasts to a 19-year-old who you're allegedly trying to help out, and, like there's just so many things. And everything you've heard so far, don't worry, it gets worse. It always, like, you always are uncovering something with Poppy and Xena where you're like, holy shit, like, I didn't realize that it was gonna get worse. Yeah. I don't normally rant about it this much, but, like, they just can't stop. They seem to be unable to stop. Like, Poppy, I think Poppy on some level is still trying to coerce Snowflake, the ex-girlfriend from the hotel, into being in a relationship with her again. Like, on some level, it's like, well, if you would just apologize to me and agree to start dating me again, then I will stop this harassment campaign type of thing. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. And the whole Spawn situation is like, they basically treat POTS like it's not a real thing. And for me, that's like my primary disability. So that is some of the most egregious part of it to me. And I'm like, I'm kind of glad that I didn't live with my mom in my late teens, because that's when the symptoms started to be, like, harder to ignore. And, it would have been the same type of thing where my mom would leave me a list of stuff that I needed to do on a Saturday, and she would leave, and the expectation was it better be done by the time I get home or I'm gonna, like, physically hurt you. And what Xena and Poppy were doing was not necessarily like physical threats toward their kid, but it was like, well, we're going to restrict your time in the kitchen and we're going to eat your food that you got for only you to eat, and like not let you eat our equivalent items and stuff, you know? Like, I'm really glad that I didn't have to deal with that with my mom, because it's not like she would have been at all understanding about it. Philosopher's Lover said, used to be part of their community. Things went downhill there about a year ago. Really? See, as I understand it, things started to really go downhill for them around December last year. But I guess I'm not terribly surprised to hear that it was bad before that. Yeah, controlling someone's eating time when they weigh like 80 or 90 pounds. Like, oh, we're not gonna let you go out into the kitchen, and oh, we're gonna take away your internet access while also expecting you to be applying for jobs. Like, it's just, there's no winning with people like that. And that's the issue with Poppy and Xena, is like, they just always are going to insist that their perspective is correct, that none of the actions that they do could ever potentially be wrong. You know, the willingness to be self-aware and go, well, shit, maybe I shouldn't have said that. They never, ever, ever do that. That's the difference. Like, Milena, who they accuse of being a stalker, she's like, yeah, it was kind of messed up for me to pretend to be Poppy's friend after the breakup in order to get information on her, you know? But she was trying to, like, mitigate the damage. She was trying to help, you know, manage the situation to an extent. And, like, that's the difference. Is that, like, Poppy, Xena, they don't ever say, I could have done that better. They don't ever say, maybe I went too far on this one. And God forbid they apologize for anything, you know? Things started going hell maybe around the time Spawn left them and they dumped Milena. There was a stream just about a year ago where they ranted about both of those things and then tried to establish us not contacting the people that had just left. Yeah. Establishing this, like, us versus them. During the Hogwarts Legacy thing as well. See, I didn't really pay attention to what they were saying during the Hogwarts Legacy. I mean, like, maybe we had some amount of conversation about it, but it wasn't, like... I don't really remember it that strongly. And, Poppy tried to say that the Hogwarts Legacy thing was part of why, oh, I just have a negative opinion of them, and I'm biased, and whatever, and, like... Yeah, I do think that the way that they handled the whole very, very, very nuanced conversation around gender dysphoria, you know, this is a cisgender invention that has been imposed on trans people, and does it even make sense for us to use this terminology and, like, medicalize, or, like, rather pathologize trans people's feelings about their gender, but, like, cisgender people have the same feelings and they get the same treatments, but we're not forcing them to get psychiatric evaluation. You know, like, a very highly nuanced conversation. And for Poppy and Xena to just be like, Philosophy Tube is a moron. Like, yeah, that was what made me realize I do not want to be in community with these people, because they don't handle disagreements in a way that I think is useful at all. And I think they're really fucking rude and really fucking mean. Like, I didn't even know that they were being abusive at that time. I just thought, wow, these people are really fucking rude and really fucking mean. Like, yeah, of course I don't want to be in community with you. But that's not, like, the reason why I think you're abusive. It's all of everything else that I learned. Yeah, being wrong is a sign of weakness, truly. Honestly, the way Vosh explained Philosophy Tube's position made it make perfect sense. I don't think I watched Vosh's coverage of that. I didn't see his video response on that. It's such a big red flag to not be able to own up to mistakes, because human beings make mistakes. Yeah, not being able to see or admit that is crazy, right? And it's like, do you genuinely believe that that you could never be wrong? Or are you just like your ego is invested in this idea that you can't show that you know that you're wrong? Philosophy Tube says gender dysphoria isn't real because gender isn't real. Fair. IDK, it's an interesting discussion. I don't know if that was her exact argument in the video in question, which was the I emailed my doctor 130 times video. I think her argument then was mostly just, why are these feelings treated like they're normal when they're coming from cis people? If a cisgender woman is growing a mustache because she has PCOS, she doesn't have to go to a gender clinic and get a diagnosis of gender dysphoria and be asked a bunch of invasive questions about how she masturbates in order to get healthcare. You know, women with PCOS, at least in the US, I don't really know how it works elsewhere, but like if you have irregular periods and you're growing a mustache, those are symptoms of PCOS, but a doctor might not even try to diagnose you. Because you'd have to get an ultrasound and you might have to get blood tests. Like a doctor will probably just give you estrogen birth control, which is the same basic medication that like trans women take, but you can just get it from your regular doctor. No wait, no extra scrutiny, no extra gatekeeping, no psychiatric evaluation. And so like, yeah, like, why are we pathologizing? And like, I think that part of what Poppy's argument was like, well, this is the way that we get it covered by insurance. And therefore, you know, you can't discredit gender dysphoria. And it's like, yeah, you don't understand the argument. Like, you just don't fucking understand what the point of the discussion was at all. Like, it's like trying to play chess with someone who only knows the rules of checkers. In so many of these discussions, it's like, you don't fucking understand the discussion enough to even be talking to us. Go sit at the kids' table. Go play with the Lego, okay? Grown-ups are talking. This whole thing happened shortly after the Hogwarts Legacy, and it did give me the necessary push to leave their community. Or rather, their rant happened earlier, but they celebrated getting blocked by Philosophy Tube, which is the opposite of how you should want discourse to go. Disagreement on one really minor issue should not lead to such intense hate. Poppy is always very condescending as well when she's talking to people who disagree with her. She's like, oh, darling, oh, sweetheart. And it's like, no fucking wonder you get blocked. Lightwolf says Philosophy Tube was just featured in an interview with Pod Save the UK where she discussed the dysphoria thing again. She explained her position well. Yeah, I haven't looked up any of her. I understood what she was saying in the first place, so I did not need to seek clarification. It's just sad because we need more positivity in the trans community. I know. It is really difficult. Like, I mean, that's why I decided that I was not going to be in community with or friends with Poppy or Xena. Like, was just that they're mean and like they don't handle disagreements in a way that I think is conducive to any kind of discussion or conversation. So I'm like, how can I even live in the same world as you? We are about to live through an apocalypse. And I'm not fucking exaggerating when I say that. Like, if the economy continues to prioritize economic growth over human needs, 5 billion people are going to die by the end of this century. That is not an exaggeration. That is a projection that was originally made in 1972. And like, people have checked on that research periodically, including as recently as 2021. And we are on track for the worst case scenario for the entire planet. That's what we're heading. We are on a train, and nothing is going to divert that train off that tracks at this point. I mean, if we radically changed fucking everything about how we produce and travel and consume, then yeah, we could maybe change the direction. But that's where we're headed because nobody is trying to change that shit. So who are you going to try to live through that apocalypse with? It's not going to be people who say, Philosophy Tube is a fucking idiot, and that's the title of their video, you know? Yeah. And like, if anybody's curious on this, if you haven't heard me talk about this before, it's the limits to growth report. If you ever want to read about it yourself, it's the limits to growth report. Originally in 1972, they created numerous economic models, and the worst case scenario economic model was the one where we continue to prioritize economic growth over the climate and over human needs and everything. That's what we're on track for. So we need to shift our thinking. You know, it's fun to talk about internet drama, and it's, you know, it is worth talking about narcissism and like what we're gonna do about, you know, bad faith actors in our communities. But like, this is about to become a survival situation in not very much time. It already is a survival situation for people across the globe. Like, climate change is already impacting a huge number of people. There are already climate refugees. There are already parts of the planet that were habitable before and are not habitable now for a significant portion of the year. There were wildfires in Italy last summer that were caused by the pipes melting. You know the utility pipes? There's like utility pipes and like there's wires inside those utility pipes. And like, as those pipes run under the roads are blacktop and they're much hotter than everywhere else. And the pipes underneath the road melted. And that contributed to like a lack of water supply and increased instances of like fires and stuff. If we just simply prioritized the warp drive, then we would have met the Vulcans already. I know. I'm sorry if it is bothering anybody that I'm not making eye contact with you. This is what I'm doing. I'm just working on this. San Antonio has already had over 100-degree weather this year. How many tornadoes this past week? Yeah, Chrissy, we were looking just last stream at this and, you know, talking about how abnormal this year feels compared to other years. There have been 800 tornadoes so far this year. I don't think we're heading toward an extinction event. Well, yes, we are already in an extinction event more broadly, but I don't think human beings are going to go extinct. But we are going to have a dramatically reduced population, and that is a fact. That is an inarguable fact at this point. Our sewer pipes are mostly at end of life too, very expensive to fix, and more, there's this stupid heart thing that has covered up the most recent message in YouTube chat. It's very irritating. More something will mean more collapses. 2 tornadoes hit me last week. Yeah. We're having fatalities from tornadoes, and we're having infrastructure collapses from tornadoes. We've been having like these blizzards in Texas that are knocking out the electricity, and people's roofs are caving in because people in Texas don't know how to deal with their pipes freezing. So like, yeah, things are about to get crazy. That's why I live in Kansas right now, and it's like in the 80s right now. It's been in the 80s pretty regularly, and it's fucking terrible. It's hot and it sucks. And it makes me feel like all of my health symptoms are getting worse, and they are. Like, those situations do make my health worse. And like, if I didn't have air conditioning in my car, I basically wouldn't be able to safely go anywhere on a day that it's that hot. Because if it's 80 some odd degrees outside, you bet your ass it's like 110 degrees in my car. Wouldn't be surprised if the extinction event got us too. We're too dependent on a functioning ecosphere. Well, the thing is that not everywhere is going to collapse as far as the ecology and the ecosystem is concerned. Like, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, those places are actually going to be more habitable and they're going to have increased agricultural production. So it's going to like, there are going to be places that are not only habitable, but are actually more suitable to human existence, which is again why I'm moving to the Pacific Northwest, because the Pacific Northwest is another one of those areas that, you know, wildfires notwithstanding, is going to be it's going to maintain human existence. But we are about to have mass death and mass migration, and our population is projected to drop back down to what it was in like 1920, which was about 2 billion. There are almost 8 billion people on this planet right now. So that's how much of the planet is going to be inhospitable. That's why, like, I have a community garden this year because I'm teaching myself how to grow food. My partner got me a bow and arrows for my birthday this year, which was a very generous gift. And I'm going to get a hunting license so that I can hunt rabbits. And eventually I'll have a strong enough bow that I'll be able to hunt deer. Like, I am planning ahead for a future where I have to produce my own food. At least a little bit. Like, there's just going to be a situation where, like, okay, yeah, you can buy beef if you want to. It's like $100 a pound. Sir, do I need to come get you? Do you need to be held like a baby? I think he needs to be held like a baby. He's screaming. I know you can't hear him because he's in the other room. Birth rates are rapidly declining too. They're actually only declining amongst teenagers. The birth rate amongst women in their 30s is actually going up right now. New Zealand will soon be gone. Do you mean from, like, the water rising? See, he's stopped screaming now. He knows I'll go pick him up and put him in the baby position. I wouldn't rely on that. The speed of climate change means that, for example, tree saplings don't survive because the climate they need to grow early on is not the climate they'll experience when big enough to reproduce. Sure. I mean, like, I'm not saying that it'll still be perfect, but, like, trees don't even capture as much carbon as, like, smaller plants that have deeper root systems. And also, older trees feed younger trees. So, like, when saplings come up, the bigger trees around them will, like, feed them nutrients and stuff. So, you know, I definitely do think we need to be cautious and make sure that we do have plenty of trees. Yeah, cats want us when we are convenient to them. We have 57 viewers, only 49 likes. Can we potentially get a couple more likes up in this bitch? That would be appreciated. We don't need to keep talking about the climate collapse that's inevitably going to happen. It's just like, you know, this is what I'm saying is, like, you know, I think it's important to address abuses, especially within our communities of, like, vulnerable people, you know, like, because there are gonna be people like Poppy and Xena who are trying to, like, get in the commune and then doing all this fucked up power dynamic shit in the commune, and we need to be aware of those behaviors and prepared to snuff that shit out. Like, no, you do not need to, like, impose your weird fucking harem desires on us. Like, you know, we need to be prepared for how to deal with those folks, because we are going to we're going to have, like, a drastically reduced population. I don't even want to live on a commune, to be completely honest with you. I want to live on my own land. I'm having these conversations with my partner because he and I together can probably afford to buy a house with some land. I'm like, here's where I want to live. Here are the reasons why I want to live there. Because certain parts of the world are going to be more climate stable. So, like, I want to, it's not like fun to become a farmer. It's not like that's my burning desire in my heart to be a person who owns a bunch of fucking chickens. I don't like chickens. But I recognize that this is not about what I want. This is about like what has to happen in order for me to live the full extent of my years. I want to live to be in my 70s or 80s, and that's going to require me to live in certain places, and it's going to require me to grow my own food. If we want to, it's going to require me to have solar panels on my house. Like, there's going to be infrastructure collapse. Wildfires damage electrical infrastructure. No queer communism with Lux. Listen, if you want to own your own land and be near me, okay. If you want to make red wine vinegar, I will trade some carrots for your red wine vinegar. Right? Like, I'm willing to have mutually supportive relationships, but I'm not willing to do this whole we have to cooperate and own the land together and make decisions together. Like, me and my partner are going to decide where the greenhouse goes, and we're going to decide what grows in the greenhouse. Like, I have one other person who I'm making these decisions with, and like, that's more than enough for me. Later, Janae, have fun. Thanks for hanging out. I did hear that the doge died. The Shiba. Ducks are also mean. And also their meat is apparently really fatty. I've actually never had duck. I could buy duck and try it. I might do that sometime, actually. Just get some duck. Exactly, Lightwolf. I think I would rather become a forest creature than live in a toxic Mad Max situation. Like, I don't want to deal with any stupid social dynamics after the apocalypse. It's going to be difficult enough to just do basic shit and survive. Quail. Duck is really tasty, says Lightwolf. My partner's parents like to cook it for Christmas. Bad ash counters with ducks fucking suck. With chickens, at least, if you have primarily female chickens, it's kind of whatever. Like, primarily female chickens, they tend to be a little bit less shitty. It's like roosters that are the problem, right? Sign me up to be a forest hermit. True. I need to finish this shirt that I'm making. I'm making this shirt, and I've kind of started to plan it out, but it's like, what I need to do is I need to create a bust. I need to, like, get some plastic wrap and wrap my upper body with it, and then I need to get duct tape and wrap that around it, and then make myself, like, a bust dress form type thing, so that I can then start putting these leaves together. This is, like, my Ren Fair outfit thing. It's like, I've crocheted all these leaves. These are, like, oak... No, these are maple leaves. And, like, I need to string them all together and build, like, a shirt with all these leaves. And this is me on my way to becoming a forest creature. That's why I brought it up. And my friend made me a headband with, like, antlers on it. Any ideas for a future nomad? Honestly... You need to make sure that your engine can run on basically a pure ethanol fuel. Because, if we don't have industry, then we're not going to have gasoline. And gasoline actually only stays good for like 6 months. If it's like the Jeeps that they find on the island in Jurassic World are the old Jeeps from the original movie. They wouldn't be able to run because they're run on gas. The gasoline goes bad after like 6 months. So if you're going to try to be nomadic in this future, that's like the main thing that I would recommend is make sure your engine can run on ethanol. Haven't entirely figured out food in the event of an apocalypse as a nomad. Oh, food. Yeah, you have to forage and hunt. So I would recommend getting something like a bow, like a recurve bow, because you can use that to hunt. Bicycles or horses, yeah. And then learn foraging. Like, get a book like this one, The Forager's Harvest, Edible Wild Plants. This book is highly recommended. This book is old enough that it is not plagued by the current problem where it's like there are AI generated books about foraging and stuff. Like, this is a good book. I bought it because it's highly recommended. Or Lord Byron, I think you got it from me off my wish list. Thank you. But it will help you identify plants so that you can eat them, right? And then I also have a book about mushroom identification. So do this and then become proficient with something like a bow and arrows, and you know, also knowing how to maintain a bow and arrows, learning how to make your own arrows. As a nomadic person, those are going to be the kind of skills that you need in order to have enough food. But, you know, also potentially the land cannot support all of us. Well, guess what? There's only going to be 2 billion people. So it's like, yeah, the land on its own can't support 8 billion people, but it's probably going to be fine for 2 billion people. But what I was also going to say, Padfoot, is that you should develop some kind of skill that will enable you to trade. So yeah, knowing how to fish. Like if you kill an animal and then you take its sinew and you can make like skins or like strings, if you know which fibrous plants to go after to make rope, and then have things to trade with people who are established, you know, like what are the kind of things, like think about what are the kind of things that people are going to need that they won't be able to have access to in an industrialized manner, but that can still be made like by hand. Candle wicks, or maybe if you visit the ocean, get a bunch of salt and then have salt to trade or something, you know, like if you're going to be nomadic, you probably can't be entirely reliant on what you can hunt and forage. You'll be reliant on trade as well. Yeah, learn tanning if you're going to hunt a lot. Save the furs, sell the skins. Shakespeare, ooh, okay. Shakespeare says, I did learn some primitive skills. Wilderness EMT certified years back. I used to shun society and lived in the woods / mountains / deserts. I bet Shakespeare has a bunch of skills. Learn how to synthesize estrogen. True. The electric scooters that also have pedals, that could be a way to get around, potentially. But you're not going to be able to carry much with you if you're riding around on a scooter, you know? Learning how to rear bees and silk caterpillars. So I do think having a bees is good because you can harvest the honey, you can harvest the bee bread, is like this product that they make for themselves. You can harvest the wax, and you can use the wax to like seal containers. You can use the wax to make candles. Bees are excellent, and they will pollinate your food for you if you're growing food. That's an excellent idea. But otherwise, I was actually just watching a survivalist talking about this. If you're in a survival type situation and you don't have very much, if you're eating bugs, you're kind of failing. The only bugs you need are like the bugs that you're going to use to then catch a fish or something. Learn to make bear spray to sell to all the dudes mad about the women they meet in the woods running to the bears. True. I recently found out that there's actually a bear hunting season. Like, bear hunting is a thing that people do. I guess it's like for population control. I feel like I don't want to do that. I have more respect. Oh, the silkworms are for thread. Okay, interesting. You can also, you know, different plants. You can use fibers to make thread, like, oh my god, cattails and flax also. Caterpillars can be fed to the poultry. True. I know y'all keep bringing up Dr. Stone. It's like an anime, right? It's like an anime. Silk is shrunk. Fair enough. You just got to think, like, how much energy and resources are you putting into the production of the thing versus how much of the thing you're getting? And, like, is the thing gonna give you more than one thing? I'm studying religion and philosophy. Will I be a wise person in such a scenario, or am I cooked? I would say you should probably develop some practical skills along with that. I think that humanity needs, like, philosophy to an extent, because that's kind of how we derive morals, but, you know, some practical skills on top of that would be good. Oh my gosh, I'm so itchy. So, okay, sorry. We are going to actually talk about the news today. This is what you get on my show sometimes, is like, I don't like the term prepper, because the term prepper kind of implies, like, a lot of conspiracy in it, and it implies that, like, you're preparing for something that's not really going to happen. But, like, yeah, it's kind of prepping. Be a monk. Yeah, spec into monk. Brewery and studying philosophy. I might be relying on the oldest profession. I mean, you know, if you've got something to trade. Like, man, how are we gonna have safe sex? Like, regarding STIs, I'm not even talking about pregnancy prevention per se. Because condoms go bad after a while. My mom is actually a paranoid conspiracy prepper. I don't want to be involved with those people. I don't want people to think of that when they hear me talking about this. And they're also like, oh, in the nuclear war or whatever. Long and short of it is that you don't, right? You just have to avoid sleeping with people who have obvious symptoms of an STI. Ye old style condoms were made from intestines. Right, and like even today, if you have a latex allergy, you can buy sheepskin condoms, right? I guess that's one reason to raise sheep. I was kind of thinking sheep were not really a great option. But hell yeah, you know, need some sheepskin condoms. He's screaming again. He's not normally, like, a loud person. I don't know what he wants right now. Hey, baby. Yeah, the lemon rind diaphragm. Didn't women in Egypt, they would take, like, crocodile shit and, like, use that as a prophylactic? Listen, I'm kind of joking about, like, basing your STI risk assessment on looks alone. Like, that was mostly a joke. It's like, cause realistically, how are you gonna protect yourself against that? Like, I guess just be really discerning with who you have sex with. You're looking like Conyer. Okay, I'll take that. Canoe is a cutie. I think it's funny a little bit that, like, I started posting on Fansly fully clothed pictures of, like, my cute outfits right around the time that Conyer started being like, I feel too shitty to post on Fansly anymore. So it's like, whew, I'm swooping in. I'm just gonna like, everybody who was looking at Conyer for, like, the cute goth outfit pics, come to me instead. Give me your money. Counting cycles has always been a thing, but not super effective for BC. Yeah, of course. Yeah. If you're like, I'm pretty sure I'm about to have my period, that's probably not the time you want to have sex. I've heard you can make rubber with goldenrod or some other prairie plant, but I have no idea how that actually works. Yeah, someone on the commune needs to learn how to make rubber so that we can still have condoms, okay? For safe sex, maybe embrace leather culture like the gay community did with BDSM in the 80s. No sex, all kink. True. Sterilized animal intestines can be a substitute. Good to know. I think I'm gonna make my partner get a vasectomy. Like, babe, it's for the apocalypse. The curly hair. Okay, I'm looking like Kanye because of the curly hair. Can we grow rubber trees? That's a good question. He's screaming again. Rubber trees make latex. Period is my most smuggy time. Yeah, that's because you're horny because you're trying to get fertilized. Like when you're ovulating or when you're like just before you're on your period. Yeah, that's the horniest time of the month because your body's like, give it to me. Yeah, that's how it works. Rubber trees are tropical. I feel like if I had a greenhouse, I could grow like some tropical plants. It doesn't get as cold in the winter in PNW. The rise of the pre-op trans girl tops. That sterility comes in handy. Only if they can keep their estrogen. Yeah. Anyway, I need to go to the restroom really quick. My ceramic condoms might take some trial and error. Yeah, fucking true. God. So I am going to go to the restroom, rest my voice for a minute, and then when I come back, we can get into the, like, actual topics for today. We've talked about a whole bunch of stuff that I wasn't really planning on talking about, but that's the wonderful thing about the beginning of the show, is we just talk about whatever, and it's like, yeah, it doesn't have to be structured. It doesn't have to have any point. I was thinking about raising rabbits. Yeah, raising rabbits is a good call. But don't, like, that can't be your only source of protein because they don't have any fat on them and it can kind of like make you sick if you're only eating rabbit. So I was thinking about either raising or hunting rabbits, but also raising chickens. Time to start building my 30-year estrogen supply. True. Yeah, just keep a female horse. OMG, made it in time. I was driving. Oh, do you have some comment to make really quick, Kitty Tick, before I run to the bathroom? Because we're going to still keep going for the next, like, 2 hours. Yes, pregnant horse urine is a source of estrogen. For people on testosterone, you're just going to have to, like, stockpile that shit, basically. Kitty Tick says, I am a nebulous prepper. I don't really care what apocalypse is gonna happen. Oh, she's preparing for, like, any of the apocalypses could happen, and she's still gonna be fucking ready. I closed my game and now stream stopped lagging. Oh, rip. When your computer can't handle stream and game at the same time. Working on having lots of ability to grow many plants in wind-powered greenhouses. Yeah, I guess that's a question. If you're up in, like, Oregon, is solar power even gonna do it for you? Or will you have to do wind power? Or maybe just a little bit of both, like maybe have one or two. I mean, they're not gonna be very tall, your wind things. Like, a little combination of solar and wind. Yes, prepping is a fun conversation. I'm gonna stockpile Old Spice and gym shorts if I can't get enough tea before the apocalypse. Listen, Throughout human history, there have been trans people who have not had access to hormones, and we still lived. We still were part of society. We still figured our shit out. You know, there are going to be health issues if you've already had your gonads removed or whatever, but like, you're gonna live. Okay? I promise you, if you don't have your hormones, you can still live a fulfilling life as your target gender. You're gonna be okay. Wind is easier to engineer. Building solar is way more technical. Yeah, I guess I was just kind of planning on getting a loan and having someone install the solar. I used to install solar. I actually really missed that job. I liked it a lot. If it weren't dangerously hot here, I might even consider going back to doing that kind of work. There's a book called Bushcraft 101 that could be useful. It's by Dave Canterbury. He's got a YouTube survival channel as well and did a survival show on TV. I might have already... Dave Canterbury Survival? I think that I watched him... Yeah, I think I watched this guy talking about survival stuff recently. Bushcraft 101. That's a good book. Yeah, I watched him talking about stuff. Survival-wise. He's the one who said, like, you shouldn't be trying to catch insects or raise insects. You should be using insects to catch fish. Gerbil energy farms. Turbines full of gerbils. Wind requires just simple engineering and gear ratios. Cool. So I'll have to look into that and discuss it with my person. I wonder if it would be cheaper too than installing solar. You'd want to have some kind of battery bank though too, so that you don't only have power during the daytime. Because even with wind, it's less windy at night, generally speaking. I'm not sure that I'd even want to suffer a post-apocalyptic life. This is the difference, though. This is what it is. I want to live well, and I will make sure that happens. My apocalypse life is not going to be suffering. My apocalypse life is not going to be bad. I'm going to be covered. Because I'm going to spend the next 10 years covering my ass. I'm going to spend the next 10 years making sure. Teaching myself the skills. Spending the time. Like, that's my determination. That's my ambition. Is like, yeah, the apocalypse, it might fuck everybody around me, but it's not gonna fuck me. Only one person allowed to do that. Anyway. Some places are windier at night. Okay, it depends. Yeah. I'm gonna make my bike camper with a windmill and solar. True. Okay, I am gonna go to the bathroom. I just said I was gonna do that. When I get back, you know, I don't know. If you guys are still into this conversation, we can keep having it, but I'm gonna plan on shifting over to talking about the stuff that we need to talk about, which is... So the two stories that I'm going to cover tonight, one is about the trans panic defense. Okay? Trans panic defense, it has been made illegal in Minnesota, and we're going to discuss it. And then also we're going to discuss... this is like pretty kind of intensely upsetting news, honestly. A trans teenager in New Zealand, content warning, hello, content warning for something graphic. Okay, ready? Self-mutilation, graphic. A trans teenager was waiting so long for a mastectomy that they attempted to do a mastectomy on themselves, and we're going to talk about that story. Those are the two topics that I have planned for today. Those are like the two videos that we're going to record for today. So stick around. Make sure you consider entertainment in the apocalypse. Oh, sure. I mean, listen, if you have animals, if you have livestock, that's entertainment in and of itself. And like, yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff that you could do. New coming-of-age TV show, My Apocalypse Life. True. All right, I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, or I will come get you. I'll drag you back to the show, okay? Be good. All right. Okay. I'm back. Jump scare. I love the wood sorrel in there, Viv. That's cool. Yeah, it's cork bark. It's actually pretty big in there. Covers a lot of the space. Maybe more than it should. Isopod cam. Isopod cam. Some of you left. I'm going to punish those who left. The dragon will breathe fire upon you. But yes, I don't know if anybody can see, but like the curls in the front of my hair are actually doing like a corkscrew thing. Like I'm very tiny on my screen over here, so can't tell. But yeah. So what shall we cover first? Any strong preferences? I realize that the prepper stuff does not result in a high traffic stream. There's only 40 people in here now. Y'all got tired of my shit. Yeah, so we have like the 2 official stories, and honestly, if we can crash through those 2 official stories, we might not even go the full 4 hours. Donations today. If you would like to show your appreciation for the show, pitch me $5. It's a little gift donation. I appreciate it. It helps me out. Want to do Transpanic first? Ooh, I got some dairy cow isopods last weekend. Cool. Those are big boys. They're very protein hungry, though, so make sure you're giving them plenty of protein. And don't put them in with frogs, because they will try to chomp on your frogs, and then your frogs will get infections, and then they'll die. But yes, they're cuties. No, I'm not really planning on eating them, though. I mean, I could, in a survival situation, You could eat isopods. Absolutely, you can. They're like shrimp, basically, but smaller. So you could, but no. I'm planning on... I might have like an aquaponics situation where I'm growing shrimp or some other... I don't know. We're not really big on eating fish in our family anyway. So I'm not really sure if we would grow fish to eat, or maybe we could grow fish to sell or trade. Maybe. But yeah. Isopods. Not a thing that I'm planning on eating. You can, but yeah, I'd rather do something else. Violent Melody says, I miss you already, Luxander. I am curious, before we get into this next segment, do any of y'all have any fun plans for the summer? I have like a barbecue. So first of all, my D&D game is starting next week. And then next weekend, I am not going to see you on Sunday because I am going to be out of town at the barbecue thing that I go to every summer. And then I'm getting my tattoo filled out a couple weeks later. So like June's gonna be a bumpin'. There's gonna be a lot of stuff going on for me in June. Trans panic defense first, please. Okay. Let me make sure that I have everything that I need for this. Many family reunions. Yay? Those can be good. I have better trans news. Bad Ash, you have better trans news? I can't get any July dates off from work, but I still have holiday stuff. Now that you mention it, I need to make some fun plans. Listen, you better do things that are good. You better do positive things. You better hang out with your friends. Ooh, also, House of the Dragon Season 2 is going to start in June, and my good friend Silent and I, we watched it together last time, so we're probably going to watch it together this time as well. So, like, spending time with your friends. Do things that you enjoy. Read a book. Be good to yourself, okay? I'll fucking get you if you don't. Best friend from Canada is coming to visit me for a week, and me and her are going to go to the Natural History Museum in New York City. See, that is some good shit. Wear a respirator. Stay safe out there. But that's good stuff. Natural history museums are the best. Good. I'm glad to hear that, okay? Badash says, today is the day I realized I was trans 4 years ago. It's also my birthday. Hey! It's convenient when they're both the same day. Your trans day of recognition and your birthday, it's like, it's very easy to remember this stuff. I do want to solicit some ideas from y'all real quick, okay? I'm kind of putting off starting the serious part of the show because the serious part of the show is going to be a bummer today. But we will start with Trans Panic, and I do have my articles ready. I do have everything ready to talk about it, okay? If a couple people were gonna do a marriage ceremony, and they wanted it to be kind of lighthearted and fun, and it's like we're trying to think of something that's different from the rings that you typically exchange. So the kind of things that I was brainstorming is like onion ring. Like, what are some ideas that you have? Like a silly thing that you could exchange that would be kind of following, like a ring pop. Or there were some really good ideas in the Discord server. Someone said a mozzarella stick. Not even in the shape of a ring, just a mozzarella stick. And I was like, that's exactly the vibe. That is exactly the vibe that I'm going for. This will be my first Pride being out as trans, and I'm getting my Pride tattoo. I'm actually considering going to Pride this year, even if it's just like a brief visit. Donuts! Okay. Donut. Good suggestion. But yeah, I don't usually go to Pride because it tends to be too fucking hot, but I guess I could go like early in the morning and then leave. But I don't know how crowded it's going to be either, and that is also a problem for me, so... Cock ring. This is a joke. Okay, that's a, listen, that's a funny, that is a funny thing. Twine, like old-timey friends. You could do a hand fasting with Twizzlers, okay? I went to a Pride event and it was very disappointing and depressing. It was a smaller one and not a big event, but come on. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want it to be a downer or anything, but... It's like, if we were to just go early in the morning, like maybe even before the parade, just to be like, hey, this is what it's like when a bunch of queer people are in one location. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Like, anything in Kansas City is going to be super crowded, though. Hand fasting with Twizzlers is an interesting concept. Yeah, we hadn't really I thought about the hand fasting thing. A hula hoop? Okay. Alec Reeser says I'm going to be going to PlumCon, which is an online tea convention from a tea company I like. Not till August, but still. Listen, having shit to look forward to, that's how you stay alive. You gotta have shit to look forward to. Oh my god, we're so close to 69 likes. Please? A 2-liter each of your favorite soda you bonded over. Okay. 2-liter of soda. Do we each have a 2-liter of soda and we each give each other a 2-liter? Or is it 1 2-liter and we both drink from it or something? Was the porn voice too much? You won't give me my likes because of the porn voice? I'm sorry, okay? My wife and I have rings, but we did a literal tie knot with rope from the wedding party. Yeah. If it were a more serious ceremony, that could be a good option, like a literal tying of the knot or something. But the point of this one is for it to be kind of silly. We're close to 69. One more, please. It might actually already be at 69. It's just kind of delayed for me. It was funny, but maybe I'm just easily amused today. It was supposed to be funny. It's like when you're watching Game Grumps and Aaron's like, oh, like, it's silly. It's just, the vibe is silly. Exchange frogs, true. Plastic tiara, okay, also an option. Y'all are stuck on gerbils today. Fruit Loops, okay. Fruit Loops they have potential. Just put 2 straws in a 2-liter bottle, yeah. Finger traps. I haven't thought about those in such a long time. It reminds me of the movie Chasing Amy. Which is a very old movie. Shoelaces. Peach rings, okay. All good suggestions. A life preserver. I almost choked on my own saliva right there for that one. Like a flotation device. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, these are all very good options. These are all very good thoughts. Some I'm with stupid t-shirts. Okay, also an option. Exchange hamburgers. I did like the mozzarella stick thing. I used to watch Chasing Amy all the time. Yeah, it's definitely a classic. You know, but it's Kevin Smith, so it's like kind of whatever. Random piece of string. Okay, let's do the serious topic now. Yeah, we did it. We got to 69 likes. Yes. Thank you all for your participation. Johnny Cash's Burning Ring of Fire playing. True. That's the song that plays after you do the hot ones. It's like a few hours after you do the hot ones. Hot sauces. Burning Ring of Fire. Because it's, get it? It's your butthole. The traditional exchange of floppy fish. Do we slap each other with the floppy fish? Ooh, okay. Why are we on rings? Because I asked. I was like, what are some funny ring ideas? Oh my god, okay. Let's do serious topics, okay? Are you ready? You ready for serious? Let's do serious. After I drink more water. I'm gonna drink more water and then we're gonna do serious. Okay. My emotional support water bottle needs to be washed. It just, I always need water, and so I always keep refilling it. It's a problem. Okay. Sirius XM. True, it's time for Sirius XM radio. It seems kind of wild that in the year of our Lord 2024, we still have the trans panic defense and the gay panic defense. If you're unfamiliar, generally speaking, with this concept, the concept, I mean, let's focus up on the trans issue, is like, if, let's say, like, a cisgender man sleeps with a trans woman, and then he has, like, an existential crisis during his post-nut clarity, and then he does a violence on her that, like, results in her death, then they do this thing sometimes where they invoke the trans panic defense, which is like, I didn't know she was trans, and then I found out and I freaked out about it. And this is considered like a defense that is like acceptable to invoke, apparently, in defense in court. And literally people will have a reduced sentence as a result. You know, they would be charged for like first-degree murder, but they invoke the trans panic defense, and then they get like a reduced charge, which usually it also involves like a reduced sentencing, reduced punishment, you know, not as much jail time or whatever. And so it's pretty awful that it exists. Pretty big deal, pretty not good. And there are some places that are starting to change the law. Unfortunately, that usually happens after something egregious occurs. You know, like someone gets murdered and then there's like a push to change the law. So today we're discussing the fact that Minnesota thankfully banned gay and trans panic defense this past month. And unfortunately, the unfortunate thing about it is that this didn't happen until after a murder of a trans woman and then a subsequent, you know, rallying cry from her family to change the law. So I want to discuss Savannah Ryan Williams briefly here and just kind of talk about her and, you know, acknowledge that this is why, like, okay, good news. Yeah. Minnesota bans gay and trans panic defense. Good news. Yeah. Not 100% good news. It's reactive. It's one of the things that bothers me so much about the law in the United States is that it's reactive to harm. So, you know, a company spills a bunch of toxic chemicals and causes multiple generations of cancer and fertility issues in a community. And then, like, after all that happens, then those chemicals aren't allowed to be used. Or afterwards, then they get fined. And I mean, like, realistically, there's no true justice in those situations, but whatever. You know, so many women out there are like, I'm being stalked by this person. Like Rebecca Watson, I remember, talked about it years ago, that there was someone who had been sending her death threats and was saying that they were going to show up at an event of hers to do something violent to her. And she contacted the police, and the police were basically like, well, let us know after you're dead and then we'll do something. Like, essentially, that's the response. So, you know, criticism of the way that we do things in the United States there. But Savannah Williams, 38-year-old Cuban and Native American trans woman, she was killed in Minneapolis in November last year. Her loved ones and members of the city's LGBTQ plus community are mourning her death and calling on lawmakers to address the epidemic of anti-trans violence. She was found on November 29 in South Minneapolis with a gunshot wound to the head. 25-year-old Demarion Bible was charged with second-degree murder in her death. According to law enforcement documents seen by the Minnesota Reformer, Bible claims that he and Williams had sex in a courtyard and that afterward he shot her because she, quote, made him feel suspicious. So he was basically trying to invoke the trans panic defense there. So her family is basically saying she was a really kind woman. It was the kind of person who would give someone the shoes off her feet and go barefoot. This family member, Gabrielle, adds, I just would like the world to know that Savannah meant the world to me and my kids. She would give me her last, and she was very loved by her family. Her partner of 7 years, Courtney Mason, remembered her love of movies and music by Beyonce and Drake, saying, quote, she was a very caring, loving person. That's always the case in these situations. I guess, you know, it's one of those, like, we're not going to speak ill of the dead things. But trans women as a group, especially the ones who get in the news like this, they are usually like really sweet people. Their whole families are like, they were so sweet. They were a contributing member of society, and they didn't just like, she didn't deserve this consistently. Let's see. So basically, in the aftermath of this tragedy, the co-leader of Tea Time, Amber Mum, who is this is a local support network for trans women. They've called on Minnesota to decriminalize sex work, first of all, and also ban the, quote, trans panic defense, describing Williams as fierce and full of life. And, you know, of course, commentary, like, particularly trans women of color are experiencing these types of violence. Long-standing and systemic inequities persist. Representative Lee Finca, who was the first ever openly trans legislator to serve in the Minnesota House, was present at this event. Finca emphasized that although the state of Minnesota has, you know, previously became a refuge for gender-affirming care earlier this year, like, they passed laws in Minnesota saying this is a refuge state if you are trans and the state that you live in has denied you health care, then, you know, we are going to make sure that you have access to it. But pointing out that, you know, laws are not enough. You need to have a culture of safety in this situation. Williams' murder was the second widely reported attack on a trans woman in Minneapolis in 2023. In February, 3 attackers violently assaulted and robbed an unnamed trans woman at one of the city's light rail stations. This quote says, policy cannot save us. Anti-trans violence is an epidemic. It is everywhere. Continuing, our communities will not be safe until every one of our neighbors sees our humanity, celebrates our individuality, and embraces this beautiful community. Basically, the point being, yes, we can change the law, but just changing the law isn't necessarily going to fix the situation, right? So again, you know, it's good news what we're discussing here. Governor Tim Walz signed a ban on the gay and trans panic defense into law just last week. And, like, that's a good thing. It doesn't mean that it's going to stop murders from happening. It just means that sentencing for those murderers is going to be more stringent. Like, they won't have the opportunity to weasel out of what are, you know, the normal murder charges that you would get. Like, they're not, this is not, like, addressing the situation before it becomes a problem. You know, you could also be focusing on making sure that we have trans education in schools, and like the decriminalization of sex work as well, which was part of what was called for in this other article. That means that if she was doing sex work, which I guess is sort of the implication, then she could be doing it more safely rather than having to put herself in unsafe situations. Like, this is part of, the problem with FOSTA SESTA, which passed a few years back with bipartisan support. If y'all remember that, that's kind of what shut down Craigslist personal ads. And it also shut down a couple of other websites, that was how sex workers, predominantly women, were like screening the Johns. They were like, here's a place where we can meet clients and we can check their references, basically, and make sure that we are not putting ourselves in an unsafe situation. Many women have gone missing since FOSTA SESTA was passed, because you're taking women who are able to screen their clients, and now they don't have the ability to screen their clients, so now they're out doing work on the street again, which is similar to this situation, if I'm understanding it correctly, and that's unsafe. And it's especially unsafe for trans women. Sex workers are some of the only people in this country, like, who don't have legal protections at their job. Contractors, don't have full protections in a way, and like government workers get more protections than other types of contractors and everything. But like sex workers have to just, if they're assaulted, if they're sexually assaulted, they just don't have recourse, because you can then get arrested for doing sex work. Shakespeare clarifies, according to people who are close to Savannah, she was not a sex worker. None of us know what happened. All we have is the murderer's word for what happened. And that's what the trans panic defense allows, for our stories to be erased and our voices to be gone. Thank you for clarifying that. This guy claimed that he had just had sex with her, but it was also in this article that she was like married. Savannah was like, I think, married to her partner. And like, that doesn't preclude her from doing sex work, right? But it's like invoking the concept of sex work on top of invoking the fact that she was trans is a way of devaluing her life, making it so that like, oh, well, she deserved it, like, oh, and sex workers are disposable. Women are disposable generally. Trans women are disposable generally. Sex workers are disposable for sure. Especially female sex workers. But according to people close to Savannah, that wasn't even part of this. It was just this dude claimed that was part of it. And we don't know what happened, because obviously if this happened in like a public park, there's not necessarily going to be cameras everywhere. It seems like she had an established community. It's not like she was out there homeless on the street. She had people who were waiting for her to come home, right? So it's horrible that this happened. And I'm also glad that they used this, the family and the community used this as an opportunity to call for increased legal protections, so that at least if you are the kind of person who wants to do a violent crime to a trans person, you won't be thinking to yourself, oh, I can just claim that she was a sex worker who tricked me, and then I won't get put in prison or whatever. Minneapolis, Minnesota is kind of a battleground. It may seem fairly progressive in the modern era, but hasn't always been. And some of these, backwards people are still here, and they become more violent, such as the MPD. Right. Let's not forget, it was George Floyd, right? That whole thing started in Minneapolis. Or maybe I'm thinking of another high-profile thing, but like, the Minnesota Police Department are violent toward people. Like, there is a pretty solid amount of segregation also in Minneapolis, where there's like a pretty big Somali community there that gets like really heavily over-policed. Shakespeare also adds that the local news channels left comments open on these articles, and the responses to it were heinous. The news stations also doxed the trans woman support group that we're all a part of, so we ended up having to call off our candlelight vigils for Savannah due to these threats, which were mostly coming from out of state. And yeah, that's unfortunate because you have to call it off. If there's going to be a threat there, you can't rely on the Minneapolis Police Department. And just because these people are out of state doesn't mean that they won't come in. Like, they will come in from out of state. I was reading an article recently that was basically saying that the people who are showing up at all these different kinds of protests and counter-protests, the ones who are anti-vax, the ones who are anti-queer, the ones who are, like, Zionist, it's like the same group of people going around the country to all these different events, being threatening, being violent toward people. So, unfortunately, yeah, the thing to do in the community is you have to take those threats seriously if you know that you don't have security, right? I mean, I wish that there were more John Brown gun clubs across the country to support and provide security in these situations. I have seen instances where communities have come together in that way, where, you know, like anti-fascist people wearing all black with a trans flag attached to their gun are like defending a drag bar. Like, we've seen that over the last 2 years, but it's not always accessible. And sometimes I can understand, especially a group of trans women who are highly vulnerable might not want to risk it anyway, even if you do have private security, even if you do have volunteer private security, knowing that the cops are hostile to us. Like, yeah, Minneapolis Police Department produced Derek Chauvin, and like the whole entire year worth of protests, that like locus point was Minneapolis. Minneapolis is in the Midwest, y'all. It's like how there are areas in like all of these states that are pretty liberal. You know, Minneapolis is a pretty liberal city in a state that is broadly like pretty rural and probably has a lot of backwards people there. Same deal in Kansas where I live. There are like 2 or 3 areas, maybe a grand total of 5 counties in Kansas that tend to lean Democrat. But then, yeah, you step outside those cities and suddenly, yeah, you're dealing with rednecks again, and it's not safe. So it would be great if this wasn't a thing that we're gonna continue to be dealing with for a while. Like, you want to think, oh, well, things are gonna be better now. You know, they got rid of the trans panic defense, and that's a good thing. But like, we're still dealing with such a heightened degree of polarization on this issue, where so many folks are like having this, it's like ratcheting up even further their completely unfounded, borderline delusional hatred of trans people. And whether it's trans people, whether it's immigrants, whether it's Chinese folks, whether it's Muslims, like, there's always some group that's catching the shitty end of this. And just for frame of reference, these are the United States states and territories that do or do not have a trans panic defense. Gay or trans panic defense. So the ones that are dark green are the ones that prohibit any kind of trans panic defense. And the ones in the yellowish lighter color are ones that don't have an explicit ban on this. Like, does not prohibit the use of legal defenses claiming that the victim's sexual orientation or gender identity contributed to the defendant's actions. So in the majority of states, 32 states, 5 territories, you can just be like, well, I found out that they were gay and I freaked out and I killed them, and that's why I shouldn't get as big of a sentence. And then they'll just run with that, apparently. Yeah, good lord, Massachusetts. Like, Massachusetts, like, the only state in New England, I guess Pennsylvania is kind of part of New England, but like, come on, get with the times here. This is like this map is also sort of representative of the, just like, in the the party line polarization. Like, either you're overtly liberal in these particular areas on the coasts, and then, like, of course, the couple of states in the middle, or you're, like, basically falling in line with all these other Republican conservative ideals and values. Except for Massachusetts. Get your shit together, Massachusetts. Oh, God. Yeah, and apparently this whole situation lets you lie about having sex with them, too. You know, like, again, this guy claiming that he slept with her in the courtyard of a park, but she has a partner, and all of her friends and family say that she was not a sex worker, so, like, just making shit up. And I think part of the gay panic defense is that you can claim that that gay person tried to hit on you, and it freaked you out so hard that you responded violently. Like, why does this exist in the first place? I don't even want to look. I was going to be like, maybe I should Google, like, what was the first time the gay panic defense was used or the trans panic defense was used in the United States? But I don't want to know. Just get rid of it. Just ban it explicitly. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's much more that we can say about it. Like, it still sucks to be trans in this country. It's gonna keep sucking for a while. But at least there are areas that are acknowledging that this isn't okay. You know, Minnesota's law will go into effect August 1st this year. And they've passed other laws protecting trans people. We just need to get culturally on board with this. Like, with more trans protections and with more cultural acceptance. Like, not making it a big deal to be trans and, like, you know, doing everything we can to combat this groomer rhetoric. But it's just gonna still be weird for a while. I'm not the praying kind of person, but, like, I want to send sentiments of prayer to Savannah Williams' family. You know, it's not an easy thing to deal with, and for their pain to be exposed on the broad, like, national scale has to be difficult to deal with. And of course, we need to make sure we're keeping in mind that it's primarily trans women of color who are experiencing this, like, violence, and that we should, as a community, I think, do a better job of not writing off trans women and not writing off trans women of color. If they say something moderately problematic on Twitter, like, maybe understand that they're dealing with more stress than probably any of the rest of us. They're dealing with housing insecurity. They're dealing with a difficulty finding work. They're dealing with, you know, partners who are abusive or who are refusing to acknowledge them as their partner in public. And, you know, there's just so many compounding factors that I think that within the trans community, we should probably try to give each other a little bit more grace and a little bit more understanding. And try to make sure that these people have solid support networks so that this stuff doesn't happen. These things happen to people who are vulnerable because the kind of people who prey on others, they don't prey on the strong. They don't prey on people who have, like, solid community support. That's why homeless people are subject to so many crimes, because there's this idea like, oh, well, no one will care if you disappear anyway. So, yeah, we need to be careful that we're not treating trans women, and particularly trans women of color, like they're disposable. We need everybody to know that we're going to go to bat for each other, that we're going to circle the wagons, we're going to protect our own, and we're not going to, like, get into petty bullshit fights with each other. Because maybe, yeah, maybe this kind of stuff would happen less. It's all post hoc rationalization, though. So all we can say now is I hope that her family is able to move on. like to keep her memory alive and keep their lives going. You know, hopefully this doesn't have a ripple effect where people don't recover from their grief and everything. And I hope that this means that the community in Minneapolis, you know, can use this as an opportunity to kind of come together and put more resources into protecting the most vulnerable among them. I think I'm going to go ahead and call that there and put my links in the notes. What even is today? Is today the 29th? Yeah, I knew what day it was. Congrats to me for knowing what day it was. I am literally still putting all these links in my stream notes 2023 document. It's like, at this point, am I really going to go copy paste all this over into a new document? Probably not. I literally wrote 2023 on this last time too. Why did I do that? Okay. Okay, Transpanic, Minnesota. It's going in the notes. Oh, nope, that was the wrong link. Oops. Okay, now that's in my notes. Good stuff. All right, come back, everybody. Yay, you're back. Yeah, of course, Shakespeare. Yeah. Thank you for calling attention to the fact that this law only passed because of this other situation. Because Erin didn't mention that in Erin's coverage. Like, the whole, like, her article that was like, Minnesota just banned the gay and trans panic defense did not mention Savannah's passing at all. So I'm glad that we were able to add that additional information, and thank you for talking about how difficult this has been in your community. Like, even if you didn't know Savannah, I'm sure that you still feel very personally affected by her loss. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that to us. What's up, Kenzie? Welcome in. Okay. We have another not very fun story. Then that's the end of the not fun part of the show. I haven't even read this article yet. It is tragic to say, but our community has really come together more after Savannah's murder. We all just realized how much more we needed each other. Yeah, it sucks that it takes a tragedy to, you know, instigate that. But hopefully it means that it's going to reduce the number of other incidents. And it's going to increase that sense of community and that sense of, like, relying on each other. I'm a bit scared for Pride Month, honestly. I mean, yeah. I feel like the Proud Boys, in reality, are... let me go out on a limb and say they're kind of a bunch of pussies. But you never know. All it takes is, like, one of them actually having the chutzpah, and then the rest of them will kind of pile on. But yeah, I mean, the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI have both issued, like, a joint warning for terrorist activity this Pride Month. They claimed that it was by foreign actors, but we all know that that's a domestic terrorism. Even if I look fishnet, I mean cishet. Oh no. Thank you all for 80 likes today. Of course, if you appreciate the coverage, feel free to drop a dono. I'm really enjoying the hoodie. I don't even know. Yeah, I took it off earlier for for before show, but, like, support this work. Support this journalism. Okay. Gosh darn it, I need to get a flippin' Disney Plus whatever so that I can watch The Acolyte. Just a little moment of trans positive news before we go into this other kind of difficult segment. Philosophy Tube, Abigail Thorne, she is in Star Wars The Acolyte, and I want to watch it Only because she's in it. I don't care about Star Wars anymore. I mean, I never really cared that much anyway. Yeah, State Department be like, make sure to check for Hamas tunnels during Pride. Mm-hmm. They built a tunnel under the main thoroughfare where they're hiding strange devices and all kinds of, like, it's like hard to even joke about it. Like, it's not funny. Oh, man. Okay. And yeah, I did enjoy her most recent video. I finally sat down and watched the Judith Butler video from PhilosophyTube, and it was amusing. And good philosophy. The trans phantasm is such an interesting concept. Take care of your voice, my loves. Make sure you're drinking water. I'm thinking about making some food to take to the barbecue thing that I'm going to in a couple weeks. I've never prepared food for a large group of people before, but, you know, I'm considering it. Just as one more aside before we get into the next subject, what's everybody's favorite barbecue side? Like, if you're going to a group event, what's the thing you're always looking forward to the most? Of course, someone's bringing fucking pulled pork, all right, whatever, you know, like, not the main thing. What's your favorite side at a family gathering, family reunion, barbecue, 4th of July celebration, Memorial Day? Like, give me some hype, give me some ideas. The lag is lagging. I increased the latency of the show so that it would have captions, because I know people like captions. A soda? I'm looking forward to the soda the most. Okay. Egg salad. Okay. Talking about something that's gonna sit out all day. I don't know if egg salad is good for sitting out all day. Green beans, pickles, potato salad. Guacamole. Welcome to the website. I love that your first message was a typo. Tie between potato salad or coleslaw, beans, baked beans, coleslaw, mac and cheese, potato salad, macaroni salad, pickled stuff. Good potato salad, macaroni. Okay. Fruit. I was thinking about buying, like, a vegetable platter, because I don't think there normally is one of those. And, like, obviously that's not a lot of calories, but for an event where people are going to be drinking all day, if you're getting some liquid in your food, like if you're getting some, you know, water from the carrots that you're eating, that's probably better than nothing. Deviled eggs. Good fucking call. Dude, the amount of deviled eggs that I would have to make would be absurd, though. I don't think I'm going to do deviled eggs. That's way, 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 way too many. Like, I'm going to an event with, like, 30 people there. Corn on the cob, classic. Sriracha chicken skewers. Ooh. Okay. And I'm arriving, like, a day early, so I guess it would be good to have something that is cold and can just be pulled out of the fridge. I mean, I know that I can use the oven and, like, heat something up as well, but yeah, maybe it might be good to stick with something cold. Because, like, I could probably cook up a mean potato salad. I've never made one before, but I'm really fucking good at cooking everything that I try to cook, basically, so... Ooh, a big cored out watermelon full of melon balls. Ooh! How is a German potato salad different from a regular potato salad? Collard greens. Well, yeah, the watermelon could be really good. Twice baked potatoes. Pasta salad. I'm so appreciative of all the feedback. That's excellent. Yeah, watermelon could be really yummy. Like a fruit tray. If you're worried about it sitting out, don't use mayo. Potato skins are always good, true. Those would go pretty quick. German potato salad is like not all mustardy. Okay. Those are all good suggestions. I guess, you know, I can always keep the potato salad in the fridge until it's like primary food time. Rolls at a barbecue, always good. Chicken skewers can be served cold. Okay. I've been really enjoying eggs this week. Especially because we got a bunch of new hot sauces. And I'm like, let me try all these different hot sauces on eggs. I thought scalloped potatoes as well as a potential option, like cheesy scalloped potatoes, cornbread, or corn cakes. Okay. Some tabbouleh. I forget what tabbouleh is. Yeah, cornbread's a good option. These are all very good. I messaged my friend and I was like, who's bringing what food? Tell me so that I can decide what I'm going to bring. I said it a lot nicer than that, but basically I was just like, I'm thinking about bringing some food. For a group of 30, I would do... Yeah, you can get one of those, like, aluminum tin things and do scalloped potatoes. Yeah, have the pans wrapped and ready and then just, like, warm them in the oven. But yeah, like, cornbread is, like, already going to be finished. You can just pull that out and serve it. Deviled eggs would be cold, but I don't think I'm going to make deviled eggs for 30 people. Scalloped potatoes, yeah, you could just warm those up. Potato salad, you could just pull out of the fridge. Pasta salad is usually served cold, right? Apple pie. Nah, I'm not gonna... Not apple pie. Sounds like it has to be potatoes. Yeah, I'm going to a barbecue and I'm thinking about bringing a side or two sides, maybe. Because I've been going to this thing for like fucking 10 years almost. I don't remember what's the first year that I went, but I go to this party every year and I've never brought any food. And it just seems like I should do that. Yeah, pasta salad is chilled. Pasta salad is usually like, it has some kind of tanginess to it, right? Like, I don't know what else is in it. Chowder? Yeah, let me serve chowder outdoors on an 85-degree day. Just bring a brick of butter. True. Serve yourself. Hummus with bagel chips and pita bread and spinach artichoke dip. Okay, spinach artichoke dip does sound very yummy. Do y'all know those pita chips? They come in like a black bag. They're so good. They were at the store like once, and I haven't seen them at my grocery store since then. They were so good with hummus, though. Like, oh my god, it was delicious. I don't even like pita bread. Pita bread is way too dry. Demon Mama got me craving some Maine clam chowder last night. Yeah. Chowder, you know, I like the canned chowder. That's typically pretty yummy. Seconding spinach artichoke dip. Because spinach artichoke dip, you can just bake a big platter of it and then have, like, just a bunch of tortilla chips. Easy, easy. Pasta salad, it depends on if you're using a vinaigrette or a creamy dressing. But yeah, all kind of veggies and tricolor corkscrews or bow ties. Vegan chili. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to avoid bringing something hot. Like potato salad's a really good suggestion. Pasta salad's a good suggestion. Spinach artichoke dip is better when it's warm, but you can eat it cold. And then I was thinking, yeah, I would like to buy like a big tray of like vegetables that come with like a little ranch cup. I think that's probably a good thing to have. But yeah, so for a pasta salad, it's pasta and then some kind of veggies. Is it like raw veggies? And then with a vinaigrette? Okay. All good ideas. Thank you very much. Giving me ideas so that I can then not stream for you next Sunday. I have not seen Mama here today. I don't think she's here today. Mama Mephistopheles. Hummus, stuffed grape leaves, and baba ganoush with pita. Ooh, okay. I've never had stuffed grape leaves before. Cheese tray. Cheese tray would be very, very expensive. Caprese salad. Okay. All good ideas. Okay, maybe let's do this last segment now that we've had a food moment. We've had a little food break. And now I'm hungry. I wasn't before, but now I am. Okay, let me just kind of... reading a little bit here. Fresh veggies, they'll marinate in the pasta salad. Maybe some jarred stuff if you want to get fancy, like banana peppers or olives or artichoke hearts in it. Okay. Yeah, simple. Just buy a smoker, take an hour to prep a massive stack of ribs, and cook them for 8 hours. Yeah, exactly. Okay, now we're going to talk about something serious and unpleasant, okay? We had a nice, pleasant food break. Now we're going to talk about something that sucks. Tactical Gaming Fool is currently making chicken bacon mac right now. Shut up! It's like a good thing happened to you, but it should have happened to me. Give me the chicken bacon mac. Give me. Me. I'm like pointing to myself, you can't see. Me. Give it to me now. Okay. Putting this one on the books as one of the many reasons why it's important to provide trans people the healthcare that they need on a timely basis. The issue, so it's great in the United States, you know, healthcare costs like a lot of money, especially surgery. Like $10,000 is kind of a minimum unless you have insurance, and in which case the insurance, you know, may or may not cover it. They may only cover it partially. You might have to jump through 6 months worth of hoops with a psychiatrist in order for them to cover it. And if you can't get it covered, then yeah, it's like minimum $10,000. Have fun. Enjoy. But at least you can get it if you have the money for it, right? You can get it in a timely fashion. The difficulty with countries that have a national healthcare service, you know, we talk about it in the UK a lot, about how they have these really long wait lists. It's not just the UK, though. In New Zealand, for example, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the YouTuber Cops Hate Mo. Mo is someone I know. They're pretty young, trans individual, trans masculine, who was trying to get top surgery in New Zealand and ended up having to get that surgery privately. They ended up having to crowdfund, you know, like $16,000 to pay for it, to get it done by someone who is not on the National Healthcare Service, you know. Essentially, actually, with Mo, they had been on the wait list for a long time, and then they had a follow-up assessment, and even though they had, like, the highest score on the I need this mentally part of it, because they're skinny and they didn't have, like, back pain problems, so they didn't score the highest score on the physical need for it aspect, they were just, like, kicked off the wait list. The doctors on the NHS there were just like, well, we are not going to provide this for you, even though you've already been waiting for it for a long time. Just like, shrug. And yeah, I don't think that Mo posts much on YouTube anymore. I see them post on Twitter occasionally, but yeah, they've got other stuff they're focused on. They're in college, they're, you know, whatever, doing other stuff. But that was kind of a big thing. Just like, yeah, the NHS has decided that I don't need this surgery, and therefore I can't get it with the thing that I pay taxes for. Everybody in these countries pays taxes to the healthcare service with the expectation that it will be covered. These waitlists provide situations like this one. Major content warning, by the way, for essentially self-harm that has been instigated by being on a wait list and being put in that desperate situation as a result. So the story today is a trans teen attempts a self-mastectomy while waiting for surgery in a, quote, act of desperation. This teenager reached a breaking point over the waiting list times for surgery in New Zealand. National news outlets in New Zealand reported that the 18-year-old transmasculine individual was taken to an emergency department after attempting a, quote, partial left mastectomy at home. The incident was described as an act of desperation over the, quote, unmet need of masculinizing chest surgery. So this is exactly the situation that Mo was dealing with. It wasn't just the wait list, but it was, in addition for Mo, that the doctors just decided to kick them off the list. Just, nope, we're kicking you off the wait list. The New Zealand Medical Journal reported that a combination of being unable to afford a private consultation and the, quote, significant psychological stress of gender dysphoria pushed this teen to attempt the surgery himself. Several hours later, he sought medical attention, fearing potential nerve damage. Surgeons noted deep cuts around his entire left breast and subsequently completed the mastectomy on both breasts. Reports say he was discharged the following day. That's, not a good message. It turns out if you just try to do a surgery on yourself at home, that's apparently the way to get fast-tracked on the wait list. So they'll just remove both of your breasts after you try to do that. Wow. Bad message. You should have just been providing this care anyway. Practitioners noted that his improved mood and self-esteem during a post-op assessment a month later. Quote, he reported improvement in self-esteem and self-confidence and his ability to complete schoolwork and was looking forward to enrolling at university. A mental health assessment conducted before the mastectomy by doctors noted that he didn't have any previous psychiatric diagnoses and wasn't suicidal. The report said he had been considering gender-affirming surgery for years, and a lack of access to gender-affirming surgery led to this act of desperation. I feel like it goes without saying, don't do this. Don't. I know that, people throughout history have done orchiectomies at home. The risk of you developing an infection is so high. The risk of you giving yourself nerve damage is so high. This is not a good thing to do. You should not try to do this. I promise you, listen, trans people have existed throughout human history. We existed before the advent of safe surgeries. We have existed since before you could get safe hormone therapy replacement. I promise you that you can live through it. If we lived in the world of 200 years ago where there wasn't access to this healthcare, trans women can drink pregnant horse mare urine in order for it to achieve an estrogenic effect. Would you have decided that it wasn't worth it to live? If everyone around you is affirming your gender and all that, that's one of the main predictors for mental health outcomes, is just having people who are supportive. I promise you can make it through this. I promise you that the wait list is not that long. Even if it is long, you can work hard and save up your money and do a fucking GoFundMe if you need to. I promise you that this level of desperation is not necessary. You do not need to do this. Yeah, even if you're I don't ever think I could afford bottom surgery, attempting something like this, you get put under general anesthesia. Even for an orchiectomy. I know someone who just got an orchiectomy, which is literally just they remove the testicles and she still has a scrotum and everything. That surgery can be done while you're awake with local anesthesia and a lot of it. But for the most part, these surgeries, you get put under general anesthesia because you will go into shock. Like, you'll go into shock and then you'll lose a bunch of blood, and that is not a situation you want to be in at home. And yes, I'm not joking. Truly, people in history would drink the urine of pregnant horses because it has mammal estrogen in it, and it would cause people to grow breasts, like trans women and trans feminines. Like, yeah, that was not a joke. So, like, we have been... life finds a way, right, for the entirety of human history. But, like, surgery has not always been an option, and we still lived. Maybe not all of us, especially because of the social, refusal of acceptance aspect of it, but I promise you, you do not need to do this. Yeah, and the article goes into it. It's worth noting, just like many other countries that offer gender-affirming surgeries, waiting times for mastectomies in New Zealand are increasingly long in the public healthcare system, while private procedures can cost tens of thousands of dollars. According to the New Zealand not-for-profit organization Gender Minorities Aotearoa, the waiting time for gender reconstructive surgeries, such as bottom surgery, is estimated to be 10 to 12 years. The group urges activists to contact their member of parliament to push for further funding to help cut the queues. It is an issue of underfunding, stretching the resources thin, which happens in NHS. Like, NHS is all over the place. These crazy long wait times and closing clinics, even though tons of people need the services, and just deciding that people don't need this care, even though they're telling you they need it. Like, this is part of the problem with cis gatekeepers in the medical community, is like, you can't tell me that I don't need top surgery. Like, I guess legally you can, but it's gonna push people to do desperate shit like this. Like, this is what happens when people don't have... it's like abortion. People don't stop getting abortions when abortion isn't legal and safe. They just do it at home. They just take a bunch of drugs. They just do coat hanger abortions, and they get, like, full body sepsis because of doing an unsafe procedure. Like, the rate of abortion in countries where it's safe and legal is the same as the rate of abortion where it is illegal, because people will find a way to do this shit anyway. And, like, this is one of those things, like, people will do it at home, or they will attempt to do it at home. I'm like, I like, what? This must have been such an intense amount of distress. Like, he must not have been completely in his right mind to have done something like this. Because I'm sitting here thinking, like, your results are not going to look very good. Like, you're just going to, like, cut things off, and then how are you going to make sure that it's actually flat? Like, can you even see what's going on down there? Like, so many things could go wrong with that. And I think most of us couldn't imagine. I think some people could imagine performing a self-orchiectomy, and I'm sure many, many, many people have done that in the scope of human history. Something like a mastectomy or any other kind of bottom surgery kind of thing. Like, I think most of us are like, wow, I can't imagine being that desperate. But yeah, this is what happens when you force people to wait a large number of years for a procedure that they know they could access immediately if they only had tens of thousands of dollars. And, like, some people have this level of dysphoria where they're sitting there looking at their lives and they're going, if I know that I am never going to get this, like, I would rather be dead. And I understand that feeling. And I also think that that is the kind of thing that you feel when you're 18, you know? Like, and I'm not trying to be ableist about it or anything, but I think when you're 18, you're still dealing with like the brain chemistry of a teenager. And that means having a really difficult time seeing beyond this moment. That like a couple more years of waiting is not going to kill you. And that like the short term goal of you wanting this really, really bad does not, like, that should not supersede the long term goal of like living long and healthy. As a trans woman who suffered from severe gender dysphoria, once you reach your pain limit, you just want the pain to stop. Listen, I think that this is also the kind of thing that you would do if you don't understand how different physical pain is from mental pain. Like, mental anguish is one thing, but like, your body is going to respond to the physical pain very differently. And like I said earlier, this is a situation where you could go into shock and then like be unable to get somewhere. Like, you might not even be able to, you might not be thinking clearly enough to pick up your phone and call emergency services. Like, if you're at age 18, like, there is so much for you to look forward to in your life, and anything that you're dealing with right now, it feels so big. Like, your first breakup feels so big, and, you know, like, your firsts and like all this stuff that's happening to you when you're a teenager, it feels like the end of the world. And it's not. I promise you it's not. Padfoot Sam points out that working out can help with trans men. Yeah, you know, that's another thing is like Ty Turner, I don't think has had top surgery, and I don't even know if he feels that he needs it because he just works out a lot. And so his chest up top here is really big. And like, he kind of just looks like a guy who took too many steroids when he was younger. Like, because taking too many steroids can cause you to develop some breast tissue. So like, it's hard to talk about it too. And I don't want to encourage people to over-exercise, because one of the ways that trans men exercise control over their appearance is by developing an eating disorder. So, you know, they starve themselves because like, okay, if I just have less fat on my body, then that means maybe I will have smaller breasts and my hips won't be as pronounced. And then if I work out a ton at the same time, then, you know, it'll change my body and everything. And like, you have to keep everything within limits. You have to make sure not to develop additional pathologies while you're dealing with your dysphoria. You know, you don't want your dysphoria to give you anorexia athletica. I think this is one of the situations where it would be good for people with dysphoria and no other health issues to have access to a therapist. Because, you know, a therapist cannot resolve your gender dysphoria. A therapist is not going to be able to cure you of your transness, but they can give you coping skills. If you're in a situation where you are having these action urges to do something that is going to make the situation worse, and this is one of those things, like, he had an action urge to do a self-mastectomy, and acting on that urge put him in an emergency room, you know? Sometimes all you need is the skills to not take action to make the situation worse. And to, like, help you deal with the situation in the moment, deal with those feelings in the moment, move you past those feelings so that you can have a better day tomorrow. And yeah, the fundamental problem is not solved if you're extremely dysphoric over your chest, right? But that doesn't mean that, like, you need to do something dramatic and end up in the emergency room. These companies with national, sorry, these countries with national healthcare services are really, really doing a disservice to the community. Because people do die waiting. Like, they commit suicide waiting, and they do outrageous things like this while they're waiting for the healthcare. Just give people healthcare. He seems okay now. I will say, like, this article is basically like, he had a post-op appointment 1 month after being in the emergency room, and he seemed to be doing well. Like, when he went to the emergency room, they ended up just doing the double mastectomy on him, and he seems to be doing okay. Which, like, is not the takeaway message. It is way more likely that you would bleed out. It's way more likely that they would just patch you up as good as they can and then send you home and you have 1.5 breasts. You know, like, the takeaway here is not, you know, try it yourself and then the doctors will fix it when you get to the hospital. But at least, you know, nothing dramatically bad has happened to him. Apparently, like, he seems okay. He's looking forward to starting university. You know, hopefully this means he can move past this part of his life. And it's like, it's good that he's okay. I'm glad that the New Zealand healthcare system is good enough that it was able to, like, correct at least the immediate problem. It may well be at that point there wasn't enough tissue to salvage anyway, sure. But he had only gone out one side, and they did both sides for him in the emergency situation, surgeon, whatever. Whereas I think in the United States, they would have just tried to fix that left side and then leave the right side alone. But yeah, this is what people will do when you don't provide them with healthcare that they state that they need. They do dramatic things. They engage in sex work so that they can afford the private surgery. You know, like, they put off going to college because they're saving up for the surgery. All kinds of things. They may have just done the other side to mitigate the possibility of him trying it again. I mean, yeah, fair enough, I guess. Maybe it was like a harm reduction choice. But yeah, we don't want people to take away the message from this that, like, oh yeah, I'll just try it myself and then if it goes bad, the doctors will fix it for me. Like, no, don't do it. Do not. Bad, 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 bad idea. Okay, let me put this in my stream notes because I think that's pretty much all we can say about it. Stream notes. Dude, can I just also say I'm really glad that I'm 30 now? Like, my brain is so much less stupid. It's still stupid, trust me. Brain still stupid. Less stupid. Better able to receive information. Like, I know that this is not gonna last forever, you know? I know that I have the power to, like, fix shit in my life. Instead of feeling like, oh my god, I'm so overwhelmed and I can't function. Like, ugh. Being a teenager was so difficult. I did cover trans panic earlier, yes. We done finished it. We done did finished. We done did do it. We did it. I started to get less stupid at 31. Probably won't ever be done with the process. Yeah, I think every year that you're alive, you just get a little bit less stupid than you were the year before. And even then, we're all gonna have setback years where we do stupid shit. I'm kind of hoping that I'm trending now toward, like, more stability. Having done, like, the intensive therapy that I did before, and the fact that I'm still in therapy now, and that, like, I think most of my primary issues that I've had in the past are basically resolved. Like, you still get stupid thoughts that, like, they sink into your brain and they're like, hey, you're gonna keep thinking this stupid thing for a while. Like, Jesus Christ. It still happens sometimes, but, I mean, yeah, I literally still have 2 diagnosed mental illnesses, so... Yeah, I mean, it's just gonna happen sometimes. Trans Panic should be a band. I know it's horrifying, but maybe cool name. What kind of music does that band play? Explain boomers then. Okay, fair enough. They did a lot of drugs and they had a lot of lead in their brains, and then also they're catching COVID 6 times a year, so... Fair enough, though, Clara. You fucking got me on that one. I think it's the lead. I think it's mostly the lead. Yeah. Thrash metal. Trans Panic is a thrash metal band. I could see it. Crust punk. All girl band. The Gorlies. The dolls. The girls. Devourer in the Mist has a cool name. Devourer in the Mist. Girls together strong. You know what's one of the silliest things is, like, one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to living in the PNW is being like, oh, I'm gonna have way more opportunity to make friends with specifically trans girls. Like, yeah, I don't know. I find trans men to be just kind of annoying most of the time. Sometimes they're cool. The Finn from the Swolesome channel, Finn is really chill and cool, right? But, like, I've always had more trans women in my circles, which is kind of strange. And I feel like non-binary people have more trauma than all other trans people. So I guess I'm never like, yeah, I'm really looking forward to being friends with other non-binary people. Maybe, yeah, maybe it's just the fact that I've already been friends with, already been friends. I've already been friends with trans women for such a long time that I've accumulated more positive experiences with them. Maybe someday my best friend is going to be a trans man. Maybe. Excuse me. No, the burps. We have 89 likes. Can we get any more likes? One more? Uno más? I would like to get to 100. That's kind of usually the stream goal, but that's fine if we can't. I still appreciate all of you. My first trans friend was NB. I mean, he still is, but he was before too. I know, wow, dunking on trans men as though they don't get dunked on enough. Listen, I'm just saying that I don't personally get along with them for the most part. It's because they're men. No. Literally, I'm married to a man. Yawn. Ooh, we did get to 90. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you. 90 likes. I've only ever known trans women. My mom was friends with a trans man back in the 80s. Never really clicked for me that they existed until my early 20s. Right. Trans-affirming radical misandry. Listen, fuck men. That includes trans men. That is a joke. I don't... Yeah, like... I'm not usually gonna be that kind of person who's like, men are trash. Like, I don't really see the utility in that. 91, thank you, Tactical Gaming Fuel. Well, do we have any good news to cover before the end of the show? Because I think I'm pretty much prepared to go get some dinner now. Dinner is good for you. Not all men, just most. Fair. Ugh. Get you a man that understands why most women choose the bear. Used to completely clown on men, maybe because I was so glad to be rid of all that mask crap for myself. Yeah, it's an overcorrection kind of thing. It's the same, like I mentioned before, I've known of trans men who become pretty misogynistic, and it's like a way for them to distance themselves from femininity. It's a way for them to gain social acceptance among men. Like, it's a way for them to affirm their masculinity or whatever. And like, yeah, it's just not cool. All I can say is I've never been hit on at a science conference, and a few of my women friends have, so yeah. Eric, yes, you made it for the end of the stream. The very, very end of the stream. I haven't been hit on to my knowledge in a really long time, but then again, I don't really... I'm not open to that kind of attention, so I probably pay attention to it a lot less than other people. A lot of trans women embrace misogyny for the same reason. It's very affirming. Listen, one of the biggest struggles of my life... That's not true. But let's just say, for the sake of the exaggeration, one of the biggest struggles of my life is not being misogynistic to trans women that I don't like, and then being like, well, what, you wanted your gender affirmed, right? Like, the phrase dumb bitch o'clock pops up in my head a lot. Like, well, look at the time, it's dumb bitch o'clock again. And yeah, I feel like I shouldn't say that. But I feel like if I call a trans woman a dumb bitch, then if she complains about it, I could be like, what? I'm affirming your gender. Like, but obviously I'm not trying to be that mean to people for no fucking reason. It's not for no fucking reason, but you know what I mean. Shakespeare, I think you're trans femme, right? Yes, says there is affirmation where my disgust should be. That is the joke I hold on to get me through some bullshit, right? Welcome to womanhood. You're being catcalled and spoken over and groped. Welcome to womanhood. I'm gonna go trans man over the cocaine bear. Yeah, trans man or cocaine bear. Oh my god. Definitely trans man. I mean, the cocaine bear, like, didn't actually live for very long because its heart gave out, right? It consumed so much cocaine and then its heart kind of gave out. Oh my god. Yawn. Well, I've enjoyed the show tonight. It's been good. The first couple hours were a little bit more pleasant than the last hour and a half, but listen, that happens sometimes. We have the 2 hours at the beginning so that we can deal with the hour and a half of bad news. You know? I know, he just wanted to party. Womp, 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 womp. Hold on, let me end. Oh man, I don't actually know if I can play even 10 seconds of this song without the stream getting zucked. God damn it. Fucking content ID shit. Yeah, the IRL cocaine bear ODs alone in the woods and probably didn't really have a good time. So sad. But yeah, I think I'm ready to wrap. Thank you so much for hanging out, y'all. Thank you to Kitty Tick for your $10 dono up top. And thank you everybody else for your likes and chilling and hanging out and contributing with your various comments. It certainly makes the show jolly along quite nicely. So I will be planning to see you on Sunday this weekend. Sunday next weekend, I will not be seeing you, but we have 2 streams between now and then. So enjoy and be good, or at least don't get in